The rain came down in sheets, like it always did in Forks. Bella Swan kept both hands on the steering wheel and tried not to think about how the road looked darker than it should. The sky was late afternoon gray, but the trees made the highway feel like a tunnel. Charlie's old truck had good tires. Bella told herself that twice. Then the back end of the truck slid. It was small at first, just a soft drift. Then it turned sharp. The tires lost their grip, like they were rolling on glass. Bella's stomach dropped. "Okay," she whispered, like talking to the truck would help. "Okay, okay." She turned the wheel the way Charlie had shown her. Not too hard, not too fast. The truck still spun. The world tilted. The forest on one side, the empty lane on the other. The line in the road spinning like a jump rope. Bella saw headlights. A car coming the other way. She didn't scream. She didn't even have time. A sound cracked through the rain. It wasn't thunder. Thunder was big and far. This was sharp and close, like the sky had snapped. The air in front of the truck split open. Bella didn't have better words for it. It split. A thin, bright line appeared, hanging in the air over the wet pavement. It widened like a door being pulled open. Light spilled out, too clean and too white for a storm day. Bella stared so hard her eyes hurt. Someone stepped out. A man, tall and calm, like he had all the time in the world. He wore a suit that looked expensive even in this weather. Dark coat, white shirt, no umbrella, no hood. His hair was neat. His face was sharp in a way that made him look like he belonged on a movie poster, not on a rainy highway. The strange part was this. The rain didn't seem to touch him. It hit around him, sure. Bella could see drops splash on the road. But on his coat, the water didn't cling. It didn't soak in, like the rain forgot how to behave. He turned his head slightly, as if he was listening to something far away. Then he looked right at Bella's spinning truck, and he sighed. Not like he was scared. Not like he was shocked. Like someone had just handed him a chore. He lifted one hand. Bella didn't feel a punch. She didn't feel a shove. There was no crash sound. The truck simply stopped spinning. It snapped back into a straight line. Perfect. Clean. Like an invisible hand had grabbed it and placed it back where it belonged. Bella's seatbelt cut into her shoulder as the truck jerked to a halt. The other car swerved around them, honking once, then disappearing into the rain. Bella's heart kept pounding like it didn't believe the danger was over. She blinked and realized she was breathing too fast. The man walked forward through the rain with slow steps. His shoes should have splashed. They barely did. He leaned down near the driver's window. His eyes were light and steady. Not friendly, not mean. Just, "Sure." "You're welcome," he said, like it was the most normal thing in the world. Bella stared at him. Her voice came out thin. "How did you?" "Lucky timing," he said, and his mouth twitched like he might be joking. "Unlucky road." Bella looked past him. The bright tear in the air was still open. It flickered softly, like a screen with no picture. Then, with a quiet sound, like a breath being let out, it sealed shut. It was gone. Bella's mind tried to push that away. Tried to make it fit into something normal. It didn't fit. "Are you okay?" Bella asked, because that was what people said when they didn't know what else to say. He straightened. "I'm fine," Bella swallowed. "Who are you?" He paused. For the first time, he looked interested. Not in the storm, not in the road. In her. He leaned slightly closer, as if the rain was private gossip and he didn't want it to hear. "Tell me," he said softly. "What is it you truly want?" Bella froze. It was a weird question. Too personal. Too sudden. Her mouth opened, then closed. She didn't know what to say. There were too many answers, and none of them sounded safe to say out loud to a stranger on a highway. The man watched her face like he could see each thought moving behind her eyes. Bella felt something else too, a pressure in the air. Not like someone pushing her body, like someone tapping the edge of her mind. It didn't hurt. It just made her feel exposed. Then it slid off like it couldn't grab on. His eyebrows rose a fraction. "Oh," he said very quietly. Bella didn't like the way he said that, like she was a lock he hadn't expected. Before she could ask what he meant, a new sound arrived. Fast, like wind tearing through trees. A blur moved through the rain. It stopped beside the truck so suddenly that Bella barely tracked it. Edward Cullen stood there, unmoving. His hair was wet, but his skin wasn't, as if water didn't matter to him either. His face was too still, too perfect. His eyes were focused on the stranger, like a weapon aimed at a target. Bella's breath caught. "Edward!" Edward didn't look at her. He kept his gaze on the man in the suit. The man looked back at Edward, still calm, still amused. Edward's jaw tightened. His voice came out low. "Step away from her." The stranger smiled like he enjoyed being told what to do. "No," he said gently, like he was refusing a small favor. Edward's hands curled at his sides. Bella could feel the air change. It got tighter, like the storm was holding its breath. The stranger tilted his head. "You're fast," he said to Edward, and loud. Edward's eyes flicked once, fast, like he was checking Bella without turning his head. Then back. The stranger's smile widened just a little. "Oh, I see," he said. "You can hear mines." Edward's face flashed with surprise, just for a second. Then it snapped back to cold. Bella stared harder. How did the man know that? Edward moved half a step, putting himself between Bella and the stranger. The stranger didn't move. He just looked at Edward like Edward was an interesting animal in a zoo. Then the stranger spoke again, still soft, still smooth. "And what do you truly want?" he asked. Edward didn't answer, but Bella saw his throat move like he swallowed something sharp. Edward's eyes narrowed. "Don't do that." "Do what?" the stranger asked, innocent as a saint in a painting. Bella's head spun. She wanted to tell Edward to stop, to explain, to do anything that made sense. Instead, she gripped the steering wheel until her fingers hurt. The stranger's gaze slid back to Bella. "Go home," Edward said to Bella, voice tight now. "Right now." Bella's mouth opened. "I can't just—" Edward finally looked at her. His eyes were serious, in a way that made her stomach sink. "Please," he said. Bella didn't like being told what to do. But she liked even less that Edward looked like he was standing in front of a cliff. Bella nodded once, stiff. She started the truck with shaking hands. As she pulled away, she looked in the mirror. Edward stayed there, facing the stranger. Rain hammered the road around them. The man in the suit lifted a hand and gave Bella a small wave, like she was leaving a party early. Bella drove, heart pounding, and tried not to look back again. Miles away, in a warm, modern house hidden among tall trees, Alice Cullen sat up so fast that the couch creaked. Her eyes were wide. A vision had hit her, bright and clear for 1 second. Forks. The highway. A tear in the sky. A man stepping out like he owned the world. Then the vision tore apart. It didn't fade like normal. It didn't change like when choices shifted. It simply stopped. Alice stared at the blank space inside her mind, terrified in a way she hadn't felt in years. "The future," she whispered, voice small. "It's gone." Carlisle Cullen did not invite strangers into his home lightly, but Carlisle had lived for a long time. He had learned one thing again and again. When something arrives that you do not understand, fear is easy. Choice is harder. Edward came back first. moving through the trees fast enough to shake leaves loose. His face was hard, like marble that had learned anger. Carlyle met him at the door. "Edward," Carlyle said calmly. "Where is Bella?" "Home," Edward said. "She's safe." Carlyle held Edward's eyes. "And the man?" Edward's jaw tightened. "He's not human." Carlyle didn't flinch. "That narrows it down very little in our world." Edward made a sound that was almost a laugh, but not happy. He stopped her truck with one hand. Carlyle's calm held, but his mind moved fast. "Bring him," Carlyle said after a beat, "if he will come." Edward's lips pulled back, sharp. "He followed me without being asked." Carlyle walked into the living room. The family was already there, because Edward's emotions had been a storm on their silent bond. Rosalie stood with her arms crossed, eyes cold. Emmett sat forward like he was ready to jump through a wall. Jasper was still, watching everything. Alice stood near the center, hands clenched tight, her face pale. Esme hovered close to Carlyle, worry in her eyes. Edward spoke first. "He's coming." Alice swallowed. "My visions." Carlyle. "My visions broke." That made the room go quieter. Carlyle looked at Alice. "Tell me." Alice shook her head once, like she was trying to shake off a nightmare. "I saw him arrive. Then, nothing. Like someone shut a door in my face." Jasper's voice was controlled. "That doesn't happen." Alice's eyes flashed. "It did." Rosalie's mouth twisted. "Great. So we have a mystery god walking into our town, and Alice can't see what happens next." Emmett leaned forward. "Can we kill him?" Edward's eyes snapped to him. "No." Emmett blinked. That was fast. Edward's voice dropped. Jane could have stood in front of him and tried. It would have been useless. Carlyle lifted a hand. "We do not know that. We do not know anything yet." Edward stared at the floor for a moment, like he was replaying the highway. "I tried to read him," Edward said. "It's wrong. It's not empty. It's not loud. It's like—" He stopped, annoyed with himself. "It's like I'm listening to a whole city at once, but none of it is in a language I know." Carlyle nodded once. He didn't like how that sounded, but he also didn't like panic. Footsteps sounded outside. Not fast, not silent, not careful. Just footsteps, like a person walking down a hallway. The doorbell rang. Carlyle's eyes flicked to the door. Then he walked to it and opened it. The man in the suit stood on the porch. Up close, he looked even more out of place. Too clean, too sure. His hair was still perfect, his coat still dry. He looked past Carlyle into the house like he had already been inside in his mind. "Hello?" he said, cheerful enough to be rude. Carlyle kept his voice warm. "Hello? I'm Carlyle." The man smiled. "Of course you are." Carlyle did not like the way that sounded, like the man had read a label on a jar. "And you are?" Carlyle asked. The man's eyes gleamed with humor. "You want my name." "I do," Carlyle said. "It helps with basic manners." The man considered that, as if manners were a strange hobby. "Lucifer," he said finally. Rosalie made a sharp sound from inside the room. Emmett's eyebrows shot up. "Like the devil?" Lucifer's smile widened as he stepped inside without waiting for permission. "I find labels are often lazy." Jasper shifted slightly, like a guard dog ready to bite. Edward moved to stand between Lucifer and the rest of the room again, the way he had on the highway. Lucifer glanced at Edward with mild fondness. "Still doing that?" "Brave." Carlyle closed the door. "Lucifer, welcome. You appeared very suddenly." Lucifer walked into the living room, looking around. His gaze paused on a shelf of books, then a painting. Then the open space where the family stood like a wall. You live quietly, he said, as if he was judging a hotel. And you try very hard not to be what you are. Esme's voice was gentle but tight. We do our best. Lucifer looked at her and softened slightly. Yes, you do. That small kindness confused Carlyle more than rudeness would have. Carlyle gestured to a chair. Please sit. Lucifer looked at the chair like it was amusing. He did not sit. He stayed standing, relaxed, hands in his coat pockets. Carlyle kept his tone calm. Are you hurt? Do you need help? Lucifer's eyes flicked to Carlyle. You like fixing things. Carlyle smiled faintly. It's what I do. Lucifer nodded. That fits. Edward's voice cut in, impatient. Why are you here? Lucifer looked at him. I arrived. That's not an answer, Edward said. Lucifer's expression turned playful. It is the only honest answer I have right now. Carlyle stepped in before Edward's temper could rise higher. Lucifer, Carlyle said, we don't know what you are. We don't know where you came from. Our world has rules. We must protect humans. Lucifer's eyes slid to Carlyle again. You fear I will expose you. Yes, Carlyle said simply. No lies, no games. Lucifer nodded, as if that was reasonable. I do not want your secret, Lucifer said. Secrets are dull. They are only fun when someone thinks they are safe. Rosalie's voice was sharp. Then leave. Lucifer turned to her, still smiling. Tell me what you truly want. Rosalie froze, not like she was scared, like something had grabbed her attention in a place she didn't like. Rosalie's mouth opened, then she shut it hard. Her eyes flashed with fury. Don't. Lucifer looked pleased. You have discipline. Good. Emmett leaned forward again, grinning like he wanted a fight just to see what happened. Does that trick work on everyone? It usually does, Lucifer said. Alice blurted, voice tight. It didn't work on Bella. Lucifer's gaze snapped to Alice, fast, sharp. Alice stepped back without meaning to. Lucifer's voice softened. You see paths? Alice swallowed. Yes. And now you don't, Lucifer said. Alice's eyes widened. How do you? Lucifer waved a hand gently. I can feel the shape of things. This world has threads. Carlyle's eyes narrowed slightly. Threads? Lucifer smiled as if Carlyle had stepped onto a game board. Yes, Edward's voice dropped low. Bella is off limits. Lucifer looked at Edward for a long moment. Then he laughed softly. Not cruel, not kind, just amused. Oh, Edward, he said. You can't tell me what is off limits. Edward's hands clenched. Jasper's muscles tightened. Emmett's grin widened. Carlyle raised a hand again. Everyone. Enough. Lucifer looked at Carlyle. You are the center. The calm point. Carlyle held his gaze. We are a family. We do not hunt humans. We do not want war. Lucifer's smile faded slightly, replaced by something sharper. And yet you are always prepared for it. Carlyle did not deny it. A quiet fell. Rain tapped the windows. Esme broke the silence first. If you don't want our secret, what do you want? Lucifer looked around the room again. The way he did it made Carlyle feel like their house was a room in a museum. What I want, Lucifer said, is a question I ask others. Not one I answer for free. Edward's voice was flat. Then you can't stay. Lucifer tilted his head. Why not? Edward's eyes burned. Because you make things happen. Lucifer's smile returned, small and sharp. I do. Carlyle stepped forward, calm but firm. If you stay, Carlyle said, you will follow our rules. No harm to humans, no drawing attention, no pushing people's minds. Lucifer's eyes flicked to Bella's name without it being spoken, then back to Carlyle. You assume I enjoy harm, Lucifer said. Carlyle chose his words carefully. I assume you are powerful. Power can harm by accident. Lucifer looked almost pleased. That, he said, is a good answer. He walked toward the piano in the corner of the room. Carlyle hadn't even thought about it much. It was a simple thing, bought because Esme liked the sound. Lucifer ran his fingers over the keys. They should have been cold. His touch looked warm anyway. He pressed one key. A single note rang out. Then another. Then a small pattern. It was not a song yet. Just testing. Like someone checking if a tool still worked. Emmett muttered, "Is he seriously going to play music right now?" Lucifer looked over his shoulder. Yes. He played a few more notes. The sound was gentle in the quiet room. Carlyle watched, unsettled, because it looked normal. Because it looked like a man relaxing in someone else's home while everyone else waited for a bomb to go off. Lucifer stopped and turned. "Fine," he said. "Rules? I can do rules." Edward's eyes narrowed. "You can?" Lucifer smiled. "I can do many things." Jasper's voice was careful. "Why would you?" Lucifer's eyes drifted to the window, to the rain, to the dark trees, then back. "Because I am bored," Lucifer said simply. Carlyle blinked. "Bored?" "Yes," Lucifer said. Like that explained everything. "I was somewhere else. Then I was here. So I will see what this place is." Alice's voice shook. "You broke my visions." Lucifer's smile softened slightly. "I did not break you. Your gift is tied to choices. And I am difficult to predict." Alice stared, then whispered, "That's not normal." Lucifer's eyes gleamed. "Neither are you." Carlyle took a slow breath. He could feel the whole family waiting for his decision. If they drove Lucifer away, they might create an enemy they could not survive. If they welcomed him blindly, they might invite disaster inside their home. Carlyle chose the only path that felt like Carlyle. "We will watch," he said. Lucifer's eyebrows rose. "Of course you will." Carlyle nodded toward Edward. "Edward will keep close to Bella. Jasper will watch for shifts in mood. Alice will tell us what she can." Edward's voice was tense. "I don't like this." Lucifer smiled at him. "I know." Carlyle looked at Lucifer directly. "And you? You will not approach Bella alone." Lucifer considered that. Then he nodded once. "Agreed." Edward's eyes narrowed further. "That was too easy." Lucifer shrugged. "I enjoy making you uncomfortable, but I don't need to be alone with her to do it." Rosalie hissed softly. Carlyle held up a hand again, a steady signal. Lucifer looked around the room. "So this is the plan. You will treat me like a storm cloud. You will track me. You will whisper about me." Emmett grinned. "Pretty much." Lucifer's mouth twitched. "How honest." Carlyle gestured toward the door. "You can stay in the guest house." Lucifer looked at him. "You keep a guest house." "We've had guests," Carlyle said. Lucifer's eyes flicked to the family again. "Yes, you have." That night, Edward stood outside Bella's window like a silent guard, his eyes fixed on the dark trees. Bella slept, restless. Edward listened to the forest. He listened for wolves, for deer, for the distant breath of a human car on wet roads. And underneath it all, he listened for something else. A presence. It did not move like a vampire. It did not move like anything Edward knew. It moved like the world itself, making room. Edward hated that. Across town, at the police station, Charlie filled out paperwork and tried not to think about Bella's shaky voice on the phone. "I'm fine, Dad. Really. I just slid." Charlie had heard fear behind the calm. Charlie had also heard something else. a strange detail Bella had slipped out without meaning to. There was a guy, she had said. He just showed up. Charlie rubbed his face and stared at the rain on the window. Forks had weird people sometimes. Tourists, hikers, lost drivers. But Bella wasn't the type to imagine a man appearing out of nowhere. Charlie felt his gut tighten. He didn't know why. He just knew he didn't like it. In the forest, deeper than any Cullen ever hunted, Jacob Black shifted in his sleep at the treaty line. He jerked awake with a growl in his throat. The air felt wrong. Not like vampire wrong. Not like the cold stink he knew. This was different. Bigger. Like a storm sitting in the trees. Quiet, but heavy. Jacob stood, heart pounding, and listened. Somewhere in the rain, something had arrived. Something that did not belong. Far away, in a place that was not seen by human eyes, the Threadkeeper noticed the same thing. It did not have a face, not in a human way. It was an awareness, stretched across time like a net. Forks was one of its knots, one of its safe points, a place where choices usually flowed in a predictable pattern. Then a foreign will had stepped onto the net. The net trembled. A thread snapped. The Threadkeeper felt it like pain, not because it cared about comfort, because it cared about control. And control had just been challenged. The next morning, Carlyle had barely finished pretending to drink coffee when Alice rushed into the kitchen. Her eyes were wide. "Carlyle?" she said. Carlyle set the cup down. "What is it?" Alice swallowed. "The Volturi." The room went still. Edward appeared beside Alice, already tense. "What about them?" Alice shook her head. "I can't see the full path. It keeps breaking. But I saw a crest, a black cloak, a letter." Carlyle's voice stayed calm, but his mind raced. "A letter." Alice nodded. "It's coming." Edward's hands clenched. Because of him. Carlyle didn't deny it. They didn't have long. And somewhere, in a city of stone and old power, Aro smiled as he read the first whisper of the anomaly. A being in Forks. A being Jane could not hurt. A being that made the future go dark. Aro's eyes gleamed like a child who had just been told there was a new toy in the world. "Bring me more," he murmured, because Aro did not fear what he didn't understand. He collected it. The letter arrived at sunset, carried by a vampire who moved like shadow through trees. Carlyle met him at the edge of the property, with Edward and Jasper close behind. The messenger did not introduce himself. He didn't need to. His eyes were red with thirst, but his posture was controlled. Volturi discipline. He held out an envelope sealed with a wax mark shaped like a V. Carlyle took it. The messenger's gaze flicked to Edward, then past them, toward the guest house. His eyes narrowed slightly, as if he felt something in the air that made him want to step back. He left without another word. Carlyle opened the letter inside the main house, with everyone gathered. Lucifer leaned against the wall, relaxed, like he was watching a play. Carlyle read aloud. A formal greeting, a polite concern about unusual activity, an invitation, no, a request that the Cullens present themselves for discussion. And at the end, a simple line. "Bring the newcomer." Edward's face turned cold. "No." Rosalie's lips curled. "This is your fault." Lucifer raised an eyebrow. "My fault? I admire your confidence." Emmett muttered, "I'm starting to like him and I hate that." Jasper's eyes were sharp. "This is a trap," Carlyle nodded. "Yes." Alice's hands shook. "If we go, we might not come back." Edward's gaze snapped to Lucifer. "They want you." Lucifer smiled slightly. "Of course they do." Edward's voice was tight. "We will not hand you over." Lucifer looked amused. "That is almost noble." Edward stepped forward. "Stop speaking like this is a joke." Lucifer's smile faded. His eyes sharpened. Edward, I have lived through things you cannot imagine. Do not confuse calm with humor. The room tightened again. Carlyle stepped between them with a gentle motion. We need a plan, Carlyle said. Edward's voice was blunt. We don't go? Carlyle shook his head slowly. If we refuse, they come here. They bring force. They bring witnesses. They bring fire. Forks becomes a battlefield. Jacob's name wasn't spoken, but Carlyle thought of the wolves, thought of Bella, thought of Charlie. They could not let that happen. Alice swallowed. I can't see how it ends. Lucifer pushed off the wall. He walked toward the center of the room, hands in his pockets, like he owned the space. You are all acting like frightened deer, he said lightly. It's adorable. Rosalie's eyes flashed. We are not animals. Lucifer looked at her. No, you are worse. You are people. People lie to themselves. Carlyle's tone was firm now. Lucifer. Lucifer paused and looked at Carlyle, as if remembering Carlyle was the only one here he almost respected. Carlyle held his gaze. If we go together. We will speak first. We will not threaten. We will not show weakness. Lucifer's mouth twitched. You want to talk your way out of a cage. Carlyle said quietly. We always try. Edward's eyes burned. And if they attack? Lucifer's eyes gleamed. Then you will learn something important about me. Edward didn't like that answer, but Carlyle heard what was behind it. Lucifer was saying, I can stop them. Carlyle didn't know what that would cost. They left before midnight. Not to Volterra. Not yet. The letter had not demanded immediate arrival. The Volturi liked theater. They liked control. They liked letting fear grow. Instead, Carlyle chose the first step. A meeting point. A clearing in the forest far from town. Far from humans. A place where they could speak without cars or streetlights. Edward insisted Bella stay home. Bella argued, of course. She did not like being treated like a glass vase, but Edward's fear was raw, and Carlyle could not ignore it. Bella stayed. Edward left anyway, every nerve screaming that he was making the wrong choice by stepping away from her. The Cullens moved through the forest like ghosts. Lucifer walked beside them like a man taking a calm stroll in a park. The rain had eased. The trees dripped quietly. At the clearing, they waited. 5 minutes. 10. Then the air changed. Carlyle felt it first. A line of cold intent sliding closer. Shapes appeared at the far edge of the clearing. Black cloaks, pale faces, the Volturi guard. And in the center, Aro. He stepped forward with open hands and a bright smile. Carlyle, Aro said, voice warm like honey. My dear friend, it has been too long. Carlyle nodded. Aro. Aro's gaze moved, slow and hungry, until it landed on Lucifer. For the first time, Aro's smile sharpened into something like delight. Ah, Aro breathed. So you are real. Lucifer offered a small bow, mocking and polite at the same time. Apparently, Aro laughed softly. Marvelous. Edward stood slightly in front of Carlyle, eyes locked on the Volturi like a guard dog ready to snap. Jasper's posture was still, his focus wide, ready to move in any direction. Emmett looked almost excited, which Carlyle did not appreciate. Rosalie looked like she wanted to burn the forest down. Alice's eyes flicked constantly, trying to catch a single thread of future and finding only blankness. Aro stepped closer, stopping at a polite distance. I heard whispers, Aro said, that something had arrived in your little corner of the world, something not under our laws. Carlyle kept his voice even. We are here to speak, not to fight. Aro's smile widened. Always the doctor. His eyes never left Lucifer. "And you," Aro said. "What are you?" Lucifer's expression was calm. "Annoyed." Aro laughed again, delighted. "Humor. Good. But I meant your nature." Lucifer looked around at the guard, at Jane's pale face, at the hungry eyes. Then he looked back at Aro. "Tell me," Lucifer said softly. "What do you truly want?" The clearing went still. Even the Volturi guards shifted, like a chill ran through them. Aro's smile faltered for half a second. Just half. Then it returned, stronger. "What I want," Aro said smoothly, "is order." Lucifer's eyes held his. "No." Aro blinked. Lucifer's voice stayed gentle. "Try again." Carlyle's heart tightened. This was not a normal conversation. This was pressure, a force on the mind. But Carlyle also noticed something. Lucifer wasn't forcing a thought into Aro. He was pulling a truth out. Aro's smile tightened at the corners. He spoke again, softer now, more careful. "What I want," Aro said, "is safety." Lucifer tilted his head. Closer. Edward's eyes narrowed. He could feel it too. The way Aro's words were sliding towards something he didn't want to admit. Jane stepped forward, eyes sharp with anger. "This is disrespect," she snapped. Aro lifted a hand slightly, a quiet command. Jane stopped, but her stare burned into Lucifer like a knife. Lucifer looked at Jane and smiled, like she was a child, making noise at a dinner table. Jane's eyes flared. Her lips moved. Edward felt it in his bones, a split second before it hit. Pain. Not physical pain, not a cut or a bruise. A sudden flood of agony that normally dropped enemies to the ground. Edward's muscles locked. Jasper's face tightened. Emmett growled low. Carlyle felt it like a dark wave trying to crash into his mind. And then, nothing. Carlyle blinked. The pain didn't land. It didn't even brush him. Lucifer was still standing calmly. Jane's face shifted from anger to confusion, then to something close to fear. She tried again, harder. Her eyes narrowed until they looked almost black. Nothing. Lucifer sighed, the same way he had on the highway. "No," Lucifer said to Jane, as if she had asked to borrow his car. Jane's mouth opened in shock. Aro's eyes widened, not with fear, but with fascination. Carlyle took a slow breath. "Aro." "That was unnecessary." Aro raised both hands. "My apologies. Jane is passionate." Jane's stare stayed locked on Lucifer, shaking slightly. Lucifer leaned forward just a little, like he was speaking to her privately. "You're used to being the knife," he said softly. "Now you've met a wall." Jane trembled. Rage rose again, but now it had a crack in it. Aro stepped forward quickly, soothing. "Please," Aro said. "Let us not waste time with misunderstandings." Lucifer straightened. "Then stop poking me." Aro smiled thinly. "As you wish." He turned his attention back to Carlyle. "This being," Aro said, still polite, "cannot remain unseen and ungoverned. Our world is fragile. Humans cannot know. You know that." Carlyle nodded. "Yes." Aro spread his hands. "Then you understand my concern." Edward's voice was cold. "You don't want concern. You want control." Aro's eyes flicked to Edward with mild annoyance, then back to Carlyle. "My dear Edward," Aro said, "control is simply another word for responsibility." Lucifer laughed once, a short sound. "No," Lucifer said again, "it's another word for fear." Aro's smile froze for a heartbeat. Then he smiled wider, like he had found a new favorite game. "You speak as if you know fear," Aro said. Lucifer's eyes sharpened. "I know it better than you." The air thickened. The Volturi guard shifted. Not because they were sure they could win, because they were trained to attack when Oro was threatened. Oro held up one finger, calm, like a king calming dogs. He looked at Lucifer. "I would like to know you," Oro said, "to understand you. Perhaps we can work together." Lucifer's voice stayed calm. "Work together means leash." Oro chuckled. "Not a leash, a partnership." Lucifer's smile turned sharp again. "Tell me what you truly want." Oro's jaw tightened, almost invisible. He hated being pushed, but he was also curious. He was a collector, a hoarder of gifts and monsters, and this monster was new. Oro spoke very quietly. "I want to keep my world." Lucifer's smile softened slightly, almost kind. "There it is." Carlyle's eyes narrowed. "Oro." Oro lifted a hand. "No, Carlyle. Let me speak." Oro looked at Lucifer. His voice was soft but firm. "This world has laws. We do not allow chaos. We do not allow power that answers to no one." Lucifer's eyes gleamed. "Then you have built a cage and called it peace." Jane stepped forward again, furious now. Felix, huge and stone still, moved beside her, ready. Dimitri's head tilted slightly, tracking scent and threat. Oro's smile fell away. He spoke one word, quiet and final. "Enough." But the clearing had already tipped, not because Oro wanted it, because the guard felt their power slipping. Jane's failure was a crack in their pride, and pride was dangerous. Felix moved first, a blur of force aimed at Lucifer's throat. Edward lunged too, not at Lucifer, but at Felix, because Edward did not trust Lucifer to handle it in a way that kept the world safe. Edward slammed into Felix with bone-cracking strength. Trees shook. Jasper hit Dimitri with a sweep that sent him flying into a trunk. Emmett met another guard head-on, grinning like a man who had waited years for this. Carlyle moved, trying to keep bodies away from the edges of the clearing, away from any path that led to town. Alice stayed back, eyes wide, useless without her visions. Watching for a moment to save someone. Lucifer didn't move at all. Felix tried to twist free of Edward. Edward growled, using all his strength, teeth bared. The Volturi fought like machines. No panic, no wasted motion. The Cullens fought like family, fast, fierce, desperate. Then Jane's eyes snapped to Edward. She couldn't hurt Lucifer, but she could hurt them. Edward's body locked mid-move, face twisting as the pain finally found a target. He staggered. Felix's hand shot up, aiming to tear Edward apart. Carlyle's heart dropped, and Lucifer sighed again. The space between Felix's fingers and Edward's throat simply became wrong. Felix's hand didn't land. It hit something invisible, solid as steel. Felix snarled and pushed harder. His arm shook. It was like he was pressing against a wall that wasn't there. Lucifer lifted one finger, almost lazy. "Stop," Lucifer said. Felix's whole body froze. Not like he had been grabbed, like his muscles had been told they didn't have permission to move. Felix's eyes widened in pure shock. Edward fell back, gasping as Jane's power still twisted his mind. Lucifer turned his head slightly toward Jane. Jane's face was tight with focus, her gift burning through her. Lucifer looked at her like she was a candle trying to light the sun. He didn't yell. He didn't threaten. He simply said, "No." Jane's power cut off like a switch. Edward's pain vanished. Edward sucked in air like he had been drowning. He stared at Lucifer with a mix of hatred and disbelief, because Lucifer had just turned Jane off, like she was a lamp. Around the clearing, the fight stuttered. Even Emmett paused mid-swing, eyes wide. Jasper froze with Dimitri pinned, his face tense. Carlyle stepped forward, voice urgent. "Stop, all of you." Oro lifted his hands again, more serious now. "Stand down," Aro commanded. The Volturi guard obeyed at once. Jasper eased his grip, but didn't release Dimitri fully. Emmett stepped back, still grinning, but now the grin had a nervous edge. Edward stayed in front of Carlyle, breathing too fast for someone who didn't need oxygen. Lucifer finally moved. He walked forward through the broken space of the fight, stepping around snapped branches and torn earth like he was walking through a messy room. He stopped in front of Aro. Aro's eyes were bright, but now there was caution inside the interest. Lucifer spoke softly. "You see?" Lucifer said. "This is what happens when you pretend you can own everything." Aro's voice stayed smooth, but it was tighter now. "You are dangerous," Lucifer smiled. "Yes." Carlyle stepped in quickly, firm. "Lucifer, we do not want war." Lucifer looked at Carlyle. "And you won't get it, unless they insist." Edward snapped. "Don't make it sound like you're doing us a favor." Lucifer's eyes flicked to Edward. "I am." Edward's face hardened. Carlyle didn't let that argument grow. He looked at Aro. "This proves something, Aro. You cannot force this." Aro's smile returned slowly, like someone putting on a mask. "No," Aro admitted. "Not by force." Jane's eyes burned with humiliation. Felix's face was stone, but his posture had changed. Less sure. Aro turned his gaze back to Lucifer. "Then we must speak," Aro said very calmly. "And we must be careful." Lucifer nodded once. "Yes, you must." Aro's eyes narrowed slightly. "What are you?" Lucifer's smile returned. Gentle and sharp at once. "My name is Lucifer Morningstar," he said, as if he was finally bored of hiding a simple fact. Carlyle felt the weight of that name land in the clearing, heavy as a dropped stone. Edward's eyes narrowed. "Morningstar." Lucifer glanced at him. "It suits me." Aro's smile flickered with something new. Not fear. Not yet. But respect. Unwilling and sharp. "Lucifer," Aro said softly, tasting the name. "Very well." Carlyle watched Aro closely. Aro's mind was always moving. He had just learned he could not win with strength. That meant he would try other weapons, words, offers, secrets, hostages. Carlyle's voice stayed calm, but his warning was clear. "This ends now. You will not come near Forks. You will not involve humans." Aro spread his hands. "As you wish, Carlyle." Lucifer laughed quietly again. "He says that like he means it." Aro's eyes stayed on Lucifer. "I mean what is useful." Lucifer's smile turned cold for the first time. "Careful." For a moment, the trees felt like they were leaning in. Then Aro stepped back, cloak shifting like ink. "This world has survived many storms," Aro said. "It will survive you as well." Lucifer's eyes gleamed. "Will it?" Aro didn't answer that. He didn't need to. He turned, and the Volturi guard moved with him, black shape slipping into the forest. Jane left last, eyes locked on Lucifer, shaking with rage and shame. When they were gone, the clearing felt too quiet. Edward turned on Lucifer instantly. "Why did you say your name?" Lucifer looked mildly surprised. "Because he asked." Edward's voice rose. "Do you know what they do? They collect things. They control things." "You just made yourself a prize." Lucifer's smile was small. "Let them try." Carlyle stepped between them again, voice firm. "Enough." He looked at Lucifer. "You did not kill them." Lucifer shrugged. "You said no harm to humans. You did not say I must be kind to monsters." Carlyle held his gaze. "You could have ended this in a second." Lucifer's eyes sharpened. "Yes." Carlyle waited. Lucifer's voice lowered slightly, and for the first time, it sounded honest, without being playful. "I do not destroy worlds when I feel annoyed," Lucifer said. I am not a child." Edward's eyes stayed hard. "Then what are you?" Lucifer looked past them into the trees, as if he could see something none of them could. "This place has a structure," Lucifer said quietly. "It has patterns, threads. Your little seer knows it. Your king in Italy knows it too. Even if he pretends it's just law." Alice hugged herself, eyes wide. "What threads?" Lucifer's smile returned, but it was thinner now. The kind that tug people into the same tragedies again and again. Carlyle felt cold settle in his chest, because Carlyle had always feared the Volturi. But this sounded like something else, something deeper. Edward's head snapped up. "You're saying someone is controlling the future?" Lucifer's eyes gleamed. "I am saying the future here is not as free as it should be." Alice whispered. "That's why it broke." Lucifer nodded once. "I don't belong to your script." Carlyle looked at the torn ground, the snapped branches, the clear proof of what had happened. They had survived the first test. But Carlyle knew something now. As sure as he knew the taste of blood he refused. Aro would not stop. And whatever Lucifer was talking about, threads, scripts, patterns, was now awake. As they moved back through the forest toward home, the rain began again. Edward stayed close to Carlyle, mind racing. Jasper kept scanning the dark, tension tight in his shoulders. Alice walked like a person who had lost the map inside her head. Lucifer walked last, hands in his coat pockets, face calm. The rain fell around him, and it still did not touch him. Somewhere unseen, the Threadkeeper tightened its hold. Not on Lucifer, on everyone else. Because if it could not stop the foreign will directly, it would do the next best thing. It would force the world to choose the worst options. It would push fear into corners. It would make allies doubt each other. And it would make sure that the next time the Volturi came, the battlefield would not be a forest clearing. It would be Forks itself. Carlyle made the move fast after the clearing, not in panic. Carlyle did not do panic, but his calm had edges now. "Jasper," he said as they crossed the treaty line and slipped deeper into the trees. "Keep everyone steady. No rash choices." Jasper's face was tight. He nodded once, already working. The fear in the group softened, not gone, but controlled. Edward stayed near Carlyle, like a guard who didn't trust the dark anymore. Alice kept looking up at the sky, as if she expected the future to fall out of it. And Lucifer walked behind them, hands in his coat pockets, calm enough to be insulting. The rain found them again. It soaked the ferns, darkened the bark, and turned the forest floor into slick mud. It still did not touch Lucifer. Emmett noticed and muttered under his breath, "I don't even want to know." Lucifer glanced at him. "You do. You're just pretending you don't." Emmett opened his mouth, then shut it. Rosalie shot Lucifer a look that could have started a fire. Carlyle kept going. When they reached the house, Esme was already at the door. She had been waiting. She saw Edward's face and Alice's shaking hands, and knew enough. "They came," Esme said quietly. Carlyle nodded. "And they will come again." Inside, Carlyle's first job wasn't comfort. It was damage control. He sent Emmett and Jasper back into the forest to remove any sign of the fight. Broken branches, stray clothing, anything that would catch a hunter's eye. He told Edward to check on Bella and stay close without being seen. He asked Alice to sit down and breathe. It was a simple request. It did not work. Alice paced the living room, fingers digging into her own palms. "I can't see it," she said again. "I can't see the next step." Carlyle watched her with worry he tried not to show. Alice's visions were not just a gift. They were their early warning, Their safety net. Now the net had holes. Lucifer stood by the piano, as if nothing had happened. He pressed a key once, listening to the note. It was slightly off. Lucifer frowned like the piano had personally insulted him. Carlyle turned to him. "You said your full name." Lucifer didn't look guilty. He didn't look proud either. He looked bored. "Aro asked," he said. Carlyle's voice stayed even. "He collects people, abilities, weapons." Lucifer's mouth twitched. "He collects stories. He thinks he's the author." Edward returned like a shadow at the window, moving so quietly that only Carlyle would have caught it. "Bella is home," Edward said. "Charlie is with her." Carlyle nodded, relieved for one heartbeat. Then the next worry arrived. "Charlie is with her," Carlyle repeated softly. Edward's eyes hardened. "He's asking questions." Lucifer finally looked away from the piano. "Humans do that." Edward's gaze snapped to him. "Not like this. He's not stupid." Lucifer smiled, small and sharp. "No, he's just surrounded by liars." The word landed hard in the room. Esme flinched. Rosalie's jaw tightened. Edward looked like he might lunge again. Carlyle lifted one hand. "Enough," Carlyle said, the same way he had in the clearing. Lucifer's eyes stayed on Carlyle. "I'm not here to expose you." Carlyle didn't relax. "Then what are you here for?" Lucifer looked away, as if the question was annoying. Then he answered anyway. "I don't know," he said. The honesty made the room quieter. Carlyle studied him, a being that could stop a Volturi guard like freezing a statue, a being Jane could not touch, a being who called himself Lucifer Morningstar. And he was saying he didn't know why he was here. That was worse, in a way. It meant there was no clear rulebook. Alice stopped pacing. Her voice was raw. "It's not just the Volturi. It's something else. Something in the way my visions broke." Lucifer's gaze flicked to her. "Yes." Alice swallowed. "What is it?" Lucifer leaned against the piano, careful not to touch it again, like he didn't want to fight with the keys. "This world is stitched," he said simply. "Some places are freer than others. Some futures are softer. Yours is tight." Edward's eyes narrowed. "Tight how?" Lucifer's smile faded. He looked almost serious. "Like someone has been pulling strings for a long time," he said, "keeping the same shapes." Carlyle felt cold slide into his chest. Alice whispered, "That's why I see choices, because choices make the path change." Lucifer nodded once. "And now your sight is choking on something that refuses to be shaped." Edward's voice was low. "You!" Lucifer's eyes gleamed. "Yes." Emmett's laugh came out wrong. "So you broke the future?" Lucifer looked at him. "No. I broke the lie that the future was fixed." Rosalie snapped. "That doesn't help us." Lucifer's gaze turned to her. "It might." Carlyle took a slow breath. He could not let this become a shouting match. Not now. "Lucifer," Carlyle said, "if there is another force here, something tied to destiny, then we need to know what it wants." Lucifer's smile returned, thin. "It wants me gone." Edward's face tightened. "And if you don't go?" Lucifer's eyes flicked to the window, to the rain, to the dark woods. "Then it will try to make this place choose the worst options," Lucifer said. The words sounded simple. The meaning was not. That night, forks stayed forks on the surface. Cars drove on wet roads. Lights turned on in small houses. People ate dinner. People argued. People watched TV. But Charlie Swan sat at his kitchen table and stared at his coffee like it was a clue. Bella sat across from him, arms folded tight, trying to look calm. "You slid on the highway," Charlie said. Bella nodded. "It was wet." "It's always wet," Charlie said. Bella's eyes flicked away. Charlie watched her, quiet and steady. He had been a cop too long to ignore the way people avoided the truth without even knowing it. "And you said there was a guy," Charlie continued. "A guy who showed up." Bella's throat moved. "I was scared. I might have said it weird." Charlie leaned back. "Bells. You don't make stuff up." Bella forced a small shrug. "I don't know. It happened fast." Charlie's gaze stayed on her. "What did he look like?" Bella hesitated. Her mind flashed to the man's dry coat in the rain, his calm eyes, the way he asked that strange question. "He looked like he didn't belong here," Bella said, because it was the only safe answer. Charlie's mouth tightened. Outside, the rain clicked against the window. Charlie glanced at the glass, then back. "Edward showed up right after," Charlie said. Bella's face tightened. Charlie held up one hand. "I'm not blaming him. I'm just saying it's weird." Bella swallowed. "Forks is weird." Charlie almost smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "There's another weird thing," Charlie said. "Billy called." Bella's attention snapped up. "Billy?" "Yeah," Charlie said. "He said some kids from La Push were out in the woods earlier. They felt something. They're spooked." Bella's stomach dropped a little. "Felt what?" Charlie shook his head. "He didn't say. Billy's not a details guy on the phone." Bella tried to keep her face calm, but fear crawled up her spine anyway. Charlie watched her again. "You're in the middle of something," Charlie said quietly. Bella didn't answer. Charlie stood, put his cup in the sink and tried to act normal, but his hand stayed on the counter longer than it needed to. Like he needed something solid. Across town, Edward stood in the shadows outside Bella's window, listening. He heard Charlie's heartbeat. He heard Bella's breath. He heard the tiny shifts in their voices. He heard the truth that Charlie wasn't saying out loud. Charlie was getting closer to the edge of the secret. Edward hated that. And he hated something else too. Lucifer's presence was not far. Not because Lucifer was stalking. Not because Lucifer was chasing Bella. Just because the world felt different with him in it. Edward couldn't read Lucifer's mind, but he could feel the change Lucifer caused in everyone else. People were sharper around him, more nervous, more honest by accident. Edward's jaw tightened. If the Volturi didn't destroy them, the truth might. 2 days later, the first accident happened. It was small. Too small for most people to notice. A hiker found a torn piece of black cloth near the edge of a forest trail. It was not human clothing. The fabric was too heavy. Too strange. Charlie got a call about it because Charlie got calls about everything. Charlie drove out in the rain, alone, because that was what Charlie did. He found the cloth in a plastic bag on the hood of his truck, handed over by a park worker who looked uncomfortable. Charlie held it up. It smelled like wet earth and something faintly wrong. Not animal, not smoke. Just wrong. He didn't have a name for it, but his instincts didn't like it. He put it away. He told the worker he would handle it. Then he drove back into town with a hard feeling in his gut. When he got to the station, someone was already waiting. A man in a dark suit leaned against the wall near the front desk, looking like he had wandered into the wrong building and decided it was fine. Charlie slowed. The man looked up and smiled. "Chief Swan?" he said warmly. Charlie frowned. "Do I know you?" "Not yet," the man said, still smiling. Charlie didn't like the way he said, "yet." "What can I do for you?" Charlie asked, keeping his tone neutral. The man's eyes flicked briefly to the badge on Charlie's chest, then back to Charlie's face. "I'm here about your town," the man said. Charlie's eyebrows rose. "My town?" "Yes," the man said, like it was obvious. "It's having a moment." Charlie's patience thinned. "Who are you?" The man paused, like he was deciding how much trouble he wanted today. Call me Mr. Morningstar, he said. Charlie stared. The name sounded fake. Like something a teenager would write in a notebook. Do you have an ID? Charlie asked. Mr. Morningstar's smile didn't move. Do you need one? Charlie's voice stayed flat. Yes. Mr. Morningstar sighed, like Charlie had asked him to fill out a form in triplicate. He pulled something from his pocket and handed it over. Charlie looked down. The card looked real. The photo matched. The details looked neat. Charlie's eyes narrowed. British? Mr. Morningstar shrugged. I travel. Charlie handed it back slowly. What do you want? Charlie asked again. Mr. Morningstar's gaze shifted toward the hallway that led to Charlie's office. Privacy. Charlie didn't like this. He liked it even less that something about Mr. Morningstar made the air feel heavy. Charlie nodded once. Fine. Inside the office, Charlie shut the door and crossed his arms. Mr. Morningstar sat without being told, like he had done it 1,000 times. He noticed Charlie's messy desk, the coffee stain, the cheap chair. His expression did something close to pity. Charlie didn't appreciate it. What is this about? Charlie asked. Mr. Morningstar leaned back slightly. Your daughter. Charlie's posture changed instantly. Leave her out of this. Mr. Morningstar's eyes stayed calm. I haven't harmed her. Charlie's voice went colder. Then why are you here? Mr. Morningstar studied him for a long moment. Then he said, soft and direct, because people are lying to you, and it's making you angry. Charlie's face tightened. Mr. Morningstar continued, and because you're going to go digging, you're going to get too close to something that will get you hurt. Charlie's jaw clenched. You threatening me? Mr. Buat, Morningstar smiled. No, I'm stating a simple outcome. You're a good man, Chief Swan. Good men walk into danger when they smell it. Charlie stared at him, fighting the urge to throw him out. How do you know me? Charlie asked. Mr. Morningstar's gaze didn't flicker. I can tell what people want. Charlie felt his skin crawl. Mr. Morningstar's eyes sharpened a fraction. So tell me, Chief, what do you truly want? Charlie's mouth opened. Then it closed. For a split second, Charlie felt something press against his mind. Not pain, not force, just a question trying to dig a tunnel. Charlie's instincts pushed back hard. Mr. Morningstar blinked, surprised. Then he smiled wider. Well, he said softly, that's interesting. Charlie's voice was tight. Get out. Mr. Morningstar stood smoothly. I will, he said. Just be careful. And please stop letting your daughter drive in storms she doesn't respect. Charlie's eyes narrowed. Forks is storms. Mr. Morningstar's smile turned playful again. Then she should learn to respect Forks. He walked out like he owned the station. Charlie sat down hard in his chair and stared at the door after him. His heart was beating too fast. Charlie didn't understand what had just happened, but he knew one thing for sure. This man was connected to Bella's accident, and Charlie did not like being kept in the dark. That evening, Alice stood by the window of the Cullen house, arms wrapped around herself. The sky was the same gray as always. The trees moved in the wind. Nothing looked different, but everything felt different. Alice closed her eyes and reached for her gift. Normally, it was like looking down a hallway with many doors. If someone made a choice, a door opened or closed. Now the hallway was there, but parts of it were covered in a thick fog, and every time she tried to look toward anything involving Lucifer, she hit a blank wall. Alice exhaled shakily. Behind her, Lucifer's voice came from the doorway. You're hurting yourself. Alice turned fast. You did this. Lucifer's face was calm. I didn't do it to you. Alice's eyes flashed. Then fix it. Lucifer walked in, slow and quiet. He didn't need to breathe, but he still moved like a person who knew how to be gentle. "I don't fix gifts," he said. "And I didn't break yours." Alice's voice rose. "Then why can't I see?" Lucifer looked out the window. "Because you were never seeing a free future," he said. "You were seeing a guided one." Alice froze. Behind her, Carlyle entered the room. His face was controlled, but his eyes were sharp. "Guided by what?" Carlyle asked. Lucifer's smile was faint. "That's the question, isn't it?" Edward appeared in the hallway, hearing the tension. He stepped inside, eyes locked on Lucifer. "This is getting worse," Edward said. "Bella's father is asking questions. The woods are leaving clues. The wolves are on edge." Lucifer glanced at Edward. "The wolves are always on edge." Edward's voice stayed tight. "Not like this." Carlyle took a slow breath. "Lucifer, if there is another force, we need to know what it is and what it can do." Lucifer's eyes gleamed. "It can push." Carlyle frowned. "Push what?" Lucifer looked at Alice. "Choices?" Alice swallowed. "That's not how choices work." Lucifer's smile turned sharper. "Choices work however the powerful decide they work." Edward's hands clenched. "So something is making people do things?" Lucifer tilted his head. "Not like mind control, not that crude." He paced slowly, like a man thinking through a puzzle. "It tightens the world," Lucifer said. "It sets up a situation where the worst decision feels like the easiest one." Carlyle's face hardened slightly. "That would be monstrous." Lucifer glanced at him. "Many things are monstrous. Your kind eats people. You just learned manners?" Edward's eyes flashed with anger, but Carlyle spoke first. "What does it want?" Carlyle asked again. Lucifer's gaze went distant. "It wants its story to stay clean," Lucifer said. "It wants forks to remain a quiet knot. It wants your seer to keep seeing the same type of future." Alice's voice shook. "So I was never really free?" Lucifer looked at her, and for a rare moment, his expression softened. "You were free," he said, "but you were free inside a room someone else built." Alice swallowed hard. Edward's voice was low. "And now?" Lucifer's smile returned, thin. "Now the walls are cracking." That night, while the Cullens argued about plans and rules, the Volturi argued too. In Volterra, Aro sat in a stone room, lit by soft lamps. The air smelled old. The silence felt trained. Dimitri stood nearby, still and watchful. Jane stood in the corner like a statue with hate inside it. Felix's posture was stiff, his pride bruised. Aro's fingers tapped lightly on the arm of his chair. "Remarkable," Aro murmured, eyes bright. "Absolutely remarkable." Jane's voice was sharp. "He humiliated us." Aro glanced at her gently. "He revealed an important truth." Jane's eyes narrowed. "That we are weak." Aro's smile returned. "That force is not the right tool." Felix growled. "Then what is?" Aro's gaze turned thoughtful, hungry. "Leverage," he said simply. Dimitri's head tilted. "Leverage over him?" Aro chuckled. "Not over him directly. That would be ambitious." Jane's lips curled. "Then over what?" Aro's eyes gleamed. "Over what he has touched." Jane's stare sharpened. "The girl." Aro's smile widened. "The girl, the family, the wolves, the town, all those fragile little pieces." Felix frowned. "He can stop us." Aro's tone stayed calm. "He can stop fists. He can stop gifts. He cannot stop hearts from breaking." Jane's eyes flickered, pleased despite herself. Aro leaned forward, voice soft. "We will not attack him, not now. We will offer. We will invite." We will create a problem he might choose to solve. Dimitri's voice was careful. And if he refuses, Aro's eyes shone. Then we will learn what he cannot ignore. Aro lifted a hand, and a servant stepped forward quietly with parchment. Aro began to write, not a threat, an offer. He would speak to Lucifer again. He would flatter. He would promise order and secrecy and freedom from human risk. And while Lucifer considered it, the Volturi would look for the cracks in his calm. Back in Forks, the cracks appeared faster than Carlyle expected. The next day, a girl from La Push didn't come home. It wasn't a little kid. It was a teenager, old enough to know the woods, smart enough not to get lost easily. Her family called Billy Black. Billy called Charlie. Charlie called search teams. And the wolves became a storm. Jacob Black stood at the edge of the forest with his hands clenched so tight his fingers hurt. Sam Uli's voice was low and controlled. "We do this clean," Jacob snapped. "Clean! Someone took her!" Paul growled under his breath, anger pushing through. Leah's eyes were hard. "It's them." Sam's gaze stayed forward. "We don't have proof." Jacob's jaw tightened. "We don't need proof. We can smell it." But this time, Jacob didn't smell the cold stink he hated. This time, the forest smelled wrong in a new way. Like the air had been rubbed against metal. It made his skin crawl. It made him angry because he couldn't name it. Charlie's trucks and flashlights moved through the trees. Humans called out names. Dogs barked. And hidden in the deeper shadows, vampires listened. Edward watched from far off, invisible to human eyes. Rage burning inside him. Because if the wolves blamed the Cullens for this, Forks would explode. Carlyle gathered his family that night with the missing girl's name heavy in the air. "We did not do this," Carlyle said firmly. Emmett snorted. "Obviously." Edward didn't speak. His mind was already racing through every possible threat. Alice sat curled on the couch, staring at her hands. "I can't see her," Alice whispered. "I can't see where she is." Rosalie's voice was sharp. "Of course you can't." Jasper's face tightened. "Don't." Rosalie glared. "Don't what? Tell the truth?" Carlyle held up a hand again. "Rosalie." Rosalie looked away, jaw tight. Lucifer leaned against the wall, watching all of them like a bored judge. "This is your threads, isn't it?" Edward said, voice like ice. Lucifer's eyes gleamed. "Yes." Carlyle's voice was controlled. "Are you saying this force took her?" Lucifer shrugged, or pushed someone else to. "Either way, it's a message." Edward's voice rose. "A message to you." Lucifer's smile was faint. "Yes." Alice looked up, eyes wide. "Then fix it. Please." Lucifer's gaze shifted to her. He didn't mock her this time. "Fine," Lucifer said. The room tightened. Edward stepped forward. "No. You don't get to say, 'Fine,' like this is a game." Lucifer looked at him, calm as ever. "It's not a game to her." He nodded toward Alice. Then he looked at Carlyle. "I will find your missing human," Lucifer said. "Not because you asked nicely. Because someone is trying to force my hand." Edward's jaw tightened. "And you hate that." Lucifer's smile turned sharp. "Very much." Carlyle held his gaze. "We will help." Lucifer's eyes flicked to him. "You can try." The next morning, Lucifer walked into the Forks police station like he had an appointment. Charlie looked up from his desk and froze. "Not you," Charlie said. Lucifer smiled politely. "Me." Charlie stood, anger and worry blending together. "This is a missing girl. This is not, whatever you are." Lucifer's expression softened slightly. "It's a missing girl." "Yes, that's why I'm here." Charlie glared. "How do you even know?" Lucifer's eyes were calm. "Because your town is screaming." Charlie's mouth tightened. "If you have information, You give it. Then you leave. Lucifer stepped closer, not threatening but too confident. Tell me her name, Lucifer said. Charlie frowned. Everyone knows her name. Humor me, Lucifer said. Charlie hesitated, then said it. Lucifer nodded once, as if the name clicked into place. He closed his eyes for a brief moment. Charlie watched him, uneasy. Lucifer opened his eyes. You have people searching the wrong place. Charlie's anger flared. What are you talking about? Lucifer's voice stayed calm. Your instincts are good. Your methods are slow. Charlie's jaw clenched. And yours are what? Magic? Lucifer smiled. Call it a hobby. Charlie stared at him, then leaned forward. If you're involved, Lucifer's gaze sharpened. If I were involved, Chief Swan, you wouldn't be standing here talking to me. Charlie flinched, not because of a threat, but because something in Lucifer's tone made it feel like a fact. Charlie swallowed. Then help. Lucifer nodded once. Good. A clear choice. Charlie frowned. What? Lucifer turned slightly toward the door. You'll want your daughter close today. Charlie stiffened. Bella? Lucifer glanced at him. She's safer than most, but she's important. Charlie's voice dropped. Important to who? Lucifer's smile returned, faint. Everyone. Charlie's face hardened. Stay away from her. Lucifer looked almost amused. Try to stop me. Then, without another word, Lucifer walked out into the rain. Charlie stared after him, fists tight. He grabbed his coat because he could not sit still while his town slipped into a nightmare, and because he did not trust Mr. Morningstar alone in Forks. Bella learned about the missing girl the same way everyone did. Charlie told her quickly, trying to sound calm. Bella's stomach sank. La Push was close. The woods were close. Everything in Forks was close. Edward was at her window that night, eyes darker than usual. It's not us, Bella whispered before he could speak, because she could feel his tension. Edward's jaw clenched. I know. Bella's voice shook. Then who? Edward hesitated. He didn't want to say Lucifer's name to her. He didn't want to pull her deeper. But Bella was already in deep water. Someone is pushing, Edward said finally. Bella frowned. Pushing what? Edward's voice went quiet. People. Bella felt cold run through her. Then she remembered the highway, the tear in the air, the man's calm face. He said something to me, Bella whispered. He asked what I truly wanted. Edward's eyes tightened. Did you answer? Bella shook her head. I couldn't. Edward stared at her, then looked away like he was angry at himself. Good, he said, but it didn't sound like comfort. Bella's brows knit. Why? Edward's voice was low. Because he can pull the truth out of most people. Bella blinked, but he couldn't pull it out of me. Edward looked back at her, eyes sharp. Yes. Bella swallowed. Why? Edward didn't answer because he didn't have one that felt safe. He only knew it mattered. And that meant Bella was now a target in a game she didn't understand. That was the moment Edward made his own choice. Not a good one. Not a calm one. A protective one. He left Bella's window and went straight to Carlisle. We need a plan, Edward said. Carlisle nodded. Yes. Edward's voice turned hard. Not a talk plan. Not a hope the Volturi behave plan. A real plan. Jasper appeared behind Edward, already listening. Rosalie crossed her arms. Emmett leaned on the wall, curious. Alice sat quietly, eyes wide, trying to see something and seeing nothing. Edward looked at Carlisle. If this thread force is pushing events, it will push Bella next. Carlisle's face tightened. Edward cut him off. I know you want calm. I know you want peace. But peace is not happening. Jasper's voice was controlled. What are you proposing? Edward's jaw clenched. We move Bella. We move Charlie if we can. We move everyone away from Forks. Rosalie's eyes flickered. Finally. Carlyle shook his head. Leaving would ignite the wolves. It would draw attention. It would look like guilt. Edward's eyes flashed. Then we stay? And wait for the next disaster? Carlyle's voice stayed steady. No. He glanced toward the piano room, where Lucifer's presence could be felt, even when he wasn't speaking. We gather information, Carlyle said. We reduce risk. We protect humans. Edward's voice was bitter. And we trust Lucifer to feel the shape of things? Carlyle didn't answer right away, because Carlyle didn't trust Lucifer. But Carlyle also knew something simple. They could not fight a storm with teeth, and Lucifer was a storm that could talk. That afternoon, the missing girl was found, alive. Barely. She stumbled out of the woods near a logging road, soaked and shaking, eyes wide like she had seen something that broke her brain. Charlie and Billy got to her first. Charlie wrapped his jacket around her shoulders and asked questions. She didn't answer at first. She just stared into the trees behind Charlie like she expected them to follow her out. Billy's voice was low, gentle. What happened? The girl's lips moved. Then she whispered one word. Strings. Charlie's skin prickled. Billy's face went hard. Charlie didn't understand, but he knew he had just stepped into a story he wasn't supposed to hear. And somewhere in Forks, Lucifer smiled without humor, because the message had been delivered. Now the force behind it was daring him to respond. Lucifer did respond. He didn't strike the sky. He didn't burn the forest. He didn't march into Volterra and tear down stone. That would be easy. He did the thing he always did when he was bored, and someone tried to corner him. He investigated. The rain was steady as he walked the edge of the forest, near the logging road where the girl had been found. Edward trailed him from a distance, silent and tense. Jasper watched from the tree line, scanning the emotional air. Alice stood close enough to see, eyes fixed, hoping for a vision that never came. Lucifer crouched by the mud, where the girl's bare feet had left prints. He touched the ground lightly. Edward felt his instincts rise, ready for anything. Lucifer closed his eyes for a moment. Then he opened them. There, Lucifer said, pointing deeper into the woods. Edward's jaw tightened. How do you know? Lucifer's smile was thin. You keep asking questions like you want me to lie. Edward didn't answer. Lucifer stood and brushed imaginary dirt off his coat. The coat stayed perfect. Alice stared. You can feel it? Lucifer glanced at her. I can feel where the world is. Too neat. Edward's eyes narrowed. Too neat. Lucifer nodded once, like a path cleared for someone, like footprints that appear where there should be none. Jasper's voice was low. A trap. Lucifer's eyes gleamed. A test. Edward's voice went colder. A test for you. Lucifer looked at him, calm and sharp. Yes. He took one step toward the darker part of the forest. Then he paused and looked back at Edward. Bring the shield, Lucifer said. Edward's body went rigid. No. Lucifer's smile didn't move. Yes. Edward's voice rose. You don't get to say her like she's an object? Lucifer's eyes sharpened. She is not an object. She is an anchor, and you know it. Alice flinched. Edward stepped closer, anger burning. Stay away from her. Lucifer leaned slightly forward, not threatening, but clear. Edward, Lucifer said softly. Someone is already reaching for her. I can either follow the line to the source, or I can let your fear slow us down until it's too late. Edward's jaw clenched so hard it looked painful. Carlyle stepped in quietly, voice controlled. Edward. Edward turned. No. Carlyle's eyes held his. Bella chooses. That word hit Edward like a punch. Bella chooses. Edward's shoulders tightened, then lowered slightly, like he was forcing himself to remember the rule he wanted for her. He looked back at Lucifer, hatred and helplessness mixed together. If anything happens to her, Edward said, voice shaking with fury, I will. Lucifer smiled faintly. You will glare. Perhaps you'll shout. Edward's eyes flashed. Lucifer's smile sharpened. Come. Let's stop pretending your threats matter to me. And that was how Act 3 ended for them. Not with a victory, not with peace, with a direction, with a problem that had a shape now, and with Bella Swan being pulled closer to the center, whether Edward liked it or not. Bella did not like being called the Shield. She also did not like how quickly everyone stopped arguing once Carlyle said, Bella chooses. It made her feel like a key being passed around. She stood in the Cullen living room, arms crossed, staring at Edward. You weren't going to tell me, Bella said. Edward's face tightened. I was trying to protect you. Bella's eyes narrowed. From what? The truth? Edward didn't answer fast enough. Lucifer sat at the piano bench like he belonged there. He wasn't playing. He was waiting, calm and patient, in a way that made Bella want to throw something. Bella turned her gaze to him. You want me to come with you? Lucifer's eyes met hers. Yes. Bella's mouth tightened. Why? Lucifer's smile was small. Because you are difficult. Bella frowned. That's not a reason. Lucifer tilted his head. It's an excellent reason. Carlyle stepped forward, gentle. Bella, we believe something is pushing events. Alice can't see it clearly. Edward can't read it. But you, Bella finished for him, bitter. But I'm special. Edward's expression pained. Bella. Bella held up a hand. No. Don't. She looked at Carlyle, then Alice, then Jasper. They all looked worried. Not just for her, for everything. Bella's throat tightened. Okay, Bella said, voice quieter. I'll come. But I'm not a tool. Lucifer's smile warmed slightly. Good. Tools don't make choices. People do. Edward's eyes stayed hard. I'm coming too. Lucifer glanced at him. Of course you are. They moved at night. Not because vampires feared daylight, but because humans asked fewer questions in the dark. Bella rode in Carlyle's car, seatbelt tight, eyes fixed on the black road cutting through trees. Edward sat beside her, tense as wire. Carlyle drove carefully, like a man who still respected speed limits, even when he didn't need to. Lucifer sat in the back, relaxed. Every so often, Bella glanced at him in the mirror. His suit was perfect. His hair was perfect. Fork's reign had failed to ruin him, and that felt unfair. Do you ever get cold? Bella asked suddenly, because the silence was making her skin itch. Lucifer looked up. No. Bella frowned. Do you ever get wet? Lucifer's mouth twitched. Also, no. Edward muttered. He's enjoying this. Lucifer smiled. Yes. Bella rolled her eyes, then immediately regretted it, because Lucifer noticed and looked pleased, like he had earned a point. They stopped near the logging road again. The forest was darker here, the trees thicker, the air heavier. Jasper and Emmett moved ahead as silent scouts. Alice stayed close to Carlyle, eyes wide. Bella stepped out onto wet ground and pulled her jacket tighter. Edward hovered near her, too close for comfort. But Bella didn't push him away this time. Lucifer stood at the edge of the trees and looked in. For a second, he didn't look bored. He looked focused. This way, Lucifer said. Bella's stomach twisted. They went deeper. The farther they walked, the less it felt like normal forest. The sounds grew wrong. Birds didn't call. Even the wind seemed to avoid certain spaces. Bella felt it in her chest, like the air was pressing down. Alice's breathing sped up, even though she didn't need to breathe. "I don't like this," Alice whispered. Lucifer glanced back at her. "Good." Alice frowned. "Good." Lucifer's smile was thin. "If you liked it, I'd be worried." They reached a place where the trees opened into a narrow hollow. At first, Bella thought it was just a dip in the ground. Then she saw the stone, a mouth in the earth, dark and round, like a cave entrance. The rock around it looked smooth in places, almost polished, as if something had rubbed against it for a long time. Carlyle crouched and ran his hand along the stone. "This isn't natural," Carlyle murmured. Edward's eyes narrowed. "It smells wrong." Jasper's face tightened. "It feels wrong." Bella swallowed. "So what is it?" Lucifer stepped forward. He didn't hesitate. He walked into the cave like he had been expected. Edward swore under his breath and followed fast, pulling Bella with him. The cave was cold and damp. Water dripped somewhere deeper inside. But there was something else, too. A faint vibration in the air, like a low hum you could feel in your teeth. Bella's flashlight beam shook slightly as she tried to keep it steady. Then the light flickered. Edward's head snapped up. "Bella." "I'm fine," Bella whispered, but her voice wobbled. Lucifer's voice came from ahead, calm and clear. "Stop the light," Lucifer said. "It doesn't want it." Bella froze. "It?" Lucifer didn't answer her question. He just kept moving. They reached a wider chamber, and Bella's breath caught. The stone walls were marked with lines. Not writing. Not pictures. Lines. Thin grooves carved into the rock, running in branching patterns. Some lines crossed. Some ended abruptly like they'd been cut. They looked like paths. Alice stepped closer, eyes wide, hand lifting without thinking. "Those are—" she started. Her voice died. Her eyes went unfocused for a second. Bella's heart thumped. "Alice!" Alice blinked hard and stumbled back, shaking. "I saw something," Alice whispered. "I saw a future." For 1 second, Edward grabbed her arm. "What did you see?" Alice's voice shook. "A net. A whole net over the world." Lucifer turned to them. His face was calm, but his eyes were sharp. "Welcome," he said softly. "To the spine." Carlyle's voice was steady but tense. "Lucifer, explain." Lucifer stepped to the center of the chamber and looked at the carved lines. "This is where the pressure comes from," he said, "where paths are reinforced." Bella swallowed hard. "By who?" Lucifer's smile was faint. "By what?" The air changed. Bella felt it like a shift in the room, like a new person had walked in without opening a door. The carved lines on the walls seemed to catch the flashlight glow and hold it. Then the light died, completely. Bella's flashlight went dark. Edward's eyes flashed toward Lucifer. Lucifer didn't move. In the darkness, a voice spoke, not loud, not deep, just clear. "You don't belong here," the voice said. Bella's skin prickled. Edward moved in front of Bella instantly, protective. Carlyle's posture stayed calm, but his eyes were locked forward. Jasper's muscles tensed. Emmett's grin vanished. Alice pressed close to Esme, shaking. Lucifer smiled into the dark like he was greeting an old enemy. "Hello," Lucifer said. "Threadkeeper." The air felt colder. "You name me," the voice said. Lucifer's tone stayed light. "You stitched this place. I can smell it." Bella's heart hammered. Edward's voice was low. "What is it?" Lucifer didn't look away from the darkness. "It's the thing that likes your future predictable," Lucifer said. "The thing that likes your tragedies Neat. The voice spoke again. This world survives by structure, it said. Chaos kills. Lucifer's smile sharpened. You mean choice scares you? Silence. Then the voice spoke, calm and certain. Choice creates suffering, it said. Your presence increases it. Bella's throat tightened, because a part of her, deep down, feared that might be true. Lucifer's voice stayed gentle, but it cut. Suffering exists with or without choice, he said. You just prefer suffering that looks tidy. The darkness shifted. Bella's eyes adjusted slightly, and she saw something she hadn't seen before. A shape. Not a body like a person. More like a thin figure made of shadow and pale light, standing at the far end of the chamber, where the carved lines met like roads. It didn't have clear eyes, but Bella felt it looking at them, looking at her. Edward felt it too. He shifted, angling his body to block Bella. The shape's attention slid past him anyway, like Edward was a curtain. You, the Threadkeeper said. Bella's breath hitched. Edward's voice turned sharp. Stay away from her! The Threadkeeper did not react to Edward's threat at all. You resist, it said to Bella. You disrupt. Bella swallowed. I don't even know what I'm doing. Lucifer's voice was soft beside her. And that is why you're dangerous to it. Bella turned her head slightly, stunned. Dangerous? Lucifer's smile was faint. Your mind refuses entry. It refuses shaping. The Threadkeeper's voice sharpened just a little. Leave, it said to Lucifer. Return to where you came from. Lucifer laughed quietly, not happy, not kind. No, he said. The Threadkeeper's presence pressed harder. The carved lines on the walls began to glow faintly, like veins lighting under skin. Bella's ears popped slightly from the pressure change. Edward's jaw clenched. Carlyle stepped forward, voice controlled. We don't want war. The Threadkeeper answered without looking at Carlyle. This is not war, it said. This is correction. Bella's stomach twisted. Lucifer's voice went calmer than before, like a blade turning flat. Correction is what tyrants call it, Lucifer said. The Threadkeeper's voice stayed steady. I maintain, it said. I prevent collapse. Lucifer's smile returned, cold. You prevent freedom. The Threadkeeper's attention locked on Lucifer fully now. Then it spoke words that made the air feel sharper. I can offer you peace, it said. Bella frowned. Peace? Lucifer's eyes narrowed slightly. He listened. You can shape this world, the Threadkeeper said. You can remove uncertainty. You can lock danger away. Edward stiffened. Don't listen. Lucifer glanced at Edward, like Edward was a fly buzzing near his ear. The Threadkeeper continued, voice calm, persuasive. No more hunters, it said. No more secrecy. No more fear. A perfect pattern. Bella's mind flashed to Charlie's safe, to people not dying, to no more danger. It sounded tempting. Then Lucifer spoke very quietly. And no one chooses, he said. The Threadkeeper didn't deny it. It didn't need to. Because to it, that was the point. Lucifer stepped closer to the shadowy figure. The carved lines brightened more. Bella felt her knees go weak for a second, like gravity had changed. Edward grabbed her arm, steadying her. Lucifer's voice was soft now, but it carried weight. I won't be your king, Lucifer said. I won't be your tool. And I won't leave, because you demand it. The Threadkeeper's presence tightened. Then it did something. Not an attack in the normal sense. It shifted the world. Bella's mind flashed with images she didn't choose. Charlie standing over a body bag. Edward's eyes empty, broken. The Cullens burning in sunlight. Jacob bleeding in the rain. It was fast, too fast to be real memories. Bella gasped and stumbled. Edward snarled, anger flashing. Alice made a small sound, like a sob, and covered her face. Carlyle's calm cracked for a moment. "Stop." Lucifer's eyes turned cold. He didn't shout. He didn't blast the cave. He simply raised one hand. And the pressure in the air snapped back, like someone had loosened a belt around Bella's chest. The carved lines dimmed slightly. Bella sucked in air, shaken. The Threadkeeper's voice turned flat. "You resist correction." Lucifer's smile was sharp. "Yes." Then the Threadkeeper spoke again, quieter, more dangerous. "Then I will force the world to choose against you," it said. Lucifer's eyes gleamed. "Try." The cave shook, not with an earthquake, with a decision being made somewhere else. Jasper's head snapped up, senses catching something. "Something's happening," Jasper said, voice tight. Edward's eyes narrowed, listening, tasting the air. "Town," Edward said. "It's coming from town." Carlyle's face hardened. "We have to move." Lucifer didn't look away from the Threadkeeper. "You did that," Lucifer said. The Threadkeeper's shape blurred slightly, like it was already pulling back. "Correction," it repeated. Then the shadow figure thinned, like smoke being sucked into a crack. The carved lines on the walls dimmed and went dead. Bella's flashlight flickered back to life. The hum in the air eased, but the warning stayed. Edward grabbed Bella's hand. "We're leaving." They moved fast out of the cave, back through the forest. The rain hit Bella's face like cold slaps. In the distance, Forks glowed faintly with streetlights. And then, Bella heard it. A scream. Not close, but close enough. Edward went pale, which was rare for him. He moved even faster, pulling Bella with him as the Cullens became blurs around her. Lucifer stayed calm, walking at a speed that should have been impossible for a man walking. Forks wasn't ready for what was coming. It started near the edge of town, where the woods met the first line of houses. A woman ran out of her back door, screaming, because something had smashed her porch. Charlie's radio crackled as he drove toward the noise, heart pounding. "Possible animal attack," the dispatcher said. "Multiple calls." Charlie gripped the wheel. "What kind of animal?" Static, fear, confusion. Then a new voice, panicked. "It's not a bear." Charlie's stomach dropped. He turned the corner and saw it. A pale figure on a roof, moving too fast. It leapt down with a snapping motion that didn't look human. Another pale figure darted across the street. Charlie slammed the brakes. His gun was in his hand before he even thought. His mind tried to label it. Drugs, rabies, a prank. Then one of the figures turned its head toward him. Its eyes were red. Its mouth was stained. Charlie froze. A cold terror shot through him, sharp and clean. Then a blur hit the red-eyed thing from the side, slamming it into a wall. Charlie's eyes widened. Edward. Charlie didn't understand how he knew it was Edward. He just did. Edward moved like a storm, too fast to follow. Charlie's gun trembled in his hand. Another pale figure rushed toward a nearby house. Charlie's body moved before his brain caught up. He ran after it because he was a cop and because people were inside. He shouted, "Stop!" The thing didn't stop. Then the streetlights flickered. The air shifted. And a man in a dark suit stepped into the middle of the road, like he had been there all along. "Mr. Morningstar." Charlie's voice cracked. "You." Mr. Morningstar didn't look at Charlie. He looked at the pale attacker. And he sighed. Again. "Really?" he said, sounding offended. The pale thing lunged straight at him, teeth bared. Mr. Morningstar lifted one hand. The attacker hit an invisible wall and bounced back like it had slammed into concrete. It snarled and tried again. It could not get closer. Charlie's mouth went dry. Mr. Morningstar turned his head slightly, as if listening to something far away. Then he spoke, voice calm, and the words were not loud, but they cut through the chaos. "Sit," he said. The pale attacker dropped to the pavement like a puppet with its strings cut. It didn't die. It just stopped moving, frozen in place, eyes wide with panic. Charlie stared. His gun felt useless. Mr. Morningstar glanced at Charlie now, mild and almost kind. "You should leave," he said. Charlie's voice shook. "What is happening?" Mr. Morningstar's smile was faint. "Your town is having a moment." Charlie swallowed hard. "That's what you said." Mr. Morningstar's eyes flicked toward the other attackers. "Stay behind me," he said, like it was a simple instruction. Charlie didn't want to obey, but his legs moved anyway. Across the street, Carlyle appeared, moving faster than any human could run, yet somehow still careful. He grabbed an attacker and dragged it into an alley, away from windows. Jasper slammed another one into the ground, holding it down with controlled force. Emmett hit one so hard it cracked the sidewalk. Rosalie moved like a blade, cutting off escape routes, her face furious. Alice hovered near a terrified human family, moving them inside their house before they could see too much. And then the wolves arrived. Jacob's pack tore in from the forest, huge and fast. Their bodies crashing into pale attackers like living tanks. Humans screamed at the sight of giant wolves. Charlie's brain tried to break. This wasn't possible. This wasn't real. But it was right in front of him. Jacob, in wolf form, slammed into a pale attacker and ripped it away from a woman's porch. The woman fell back, crying. Jacob turned his head briefly, eyes wild, then went back to fighting. Charlie looked around, shaking. This was too big. Too many pieces. Too many secrets. And all of it was happening on his street. Edward flashed back into view, stopping in front of Charlie for half a second. Edward's face was tight with fear. Not for himself, for Charlie. "Get inside," Edward said, voice urgent. Charlie stared at him, shock freezing him. "Edward!" Edward's eyes flicked to Mr. Morningstar, then back to Charlie. "Now." Charlie's stubbornness tried to rise, but his body didn't listen. He stumbled backward toward his truck, still staring at Edward like he'd never seen him before. Mr. Morningstar watched Edward with mild interest, like he appreciated Edward's loyalty even while finding it annoying. Then Mr. Morningstar looked up. Charlie followed his gaze. More pale figures were coming, moving in unnatural patterns. Not random. Coordinated. Like they had been placed. Like a hand was pushing them into the same streets, the same yards, the same spots where humans would see. Carlyle's face tightened as he realized it too. "This isn't normal," Carlyle said, voice sharp now. Edward's eyes burned. "It's staged." Jasper's voice was low. "They're being driven." Jacob's pack snarled as they fought, but even Jacob felt it now. These were newborn vampires. They should have been wild, clumsy, hungry, loud. But these moved like they had a map, like something had shown them where to go. Bella stood at the edge of the chaos, protected by Alice and Esme for a heartbeat, eyes wide. She saw Charlie retreating, shaken. She saw Edward tearing himself in half between protecting her and protecting Charlie. And she saw Mr. Morningstar in the middle of the street, calm, suit perfect, rain failing to touch him. Bella's throat tightened. He was not a person, not in the way she understood. Yet he was here, holding the line while everyone else fought. Mr. Morningstar glanced back at Bella. Their eyes met. And Bella felt that strange pressure again, like a question brushing her mind, not forcing, testing. Then it slid off, unable to catch. Mr. Morningstar's expression changed, just a little. Approval. Like her refusal mattered. That was when the Threadkeeper pushed again. A sudden accident inside the chaos. A newborn vampire broke through Jasper's hold and shot toward Bella, faster than Bella could move. Edward saw it and blurred toward her. Jacob saw it too and lunged from the side. For a split second, Edward and Jacob were both aimed at the same target, the same path. They would collide. They would lose time. Bella's heart stopped. Mr. Morningstar's hand lifted. Space between them bent slightly. Not in a way that looked like magic. In a way that looked like the world had simply decided to give them room. Edward passed Jacob without impact. Jacob slammed into the newborn, knocking it off course. Edward reached Bella and pulled her behind him. The newborn hit the pavement hard. Carlyle moved in and pinned it, voice calm and deadly. Enough. The newborn snarled, struggling, eyes red with hunger and confusion. Then it stopped fighting, as if something inside it lost the urge. Jasper's eyes narrowed. That wasn't us. Edward's voice turned sharp. It's losing control. Mr. Morningstar looked up into the rain, as if he could see the Threadkeeper perched in the clouds. You're sloppy, he said softly. No one heard him but Bella, and Bella wasn't sure if she had truly heard it or felt it. The newborns began to retreat, not because they had learned fear, because the push guiding them had eased, like a hand pulling back to avoid being caught. Carlyle's voice cut through the remaining chaos. Get them out of town, now. The Cullens moved with practiced speed, dragging attackers into the forest, where they could be dealt with away from human eyes. The wolves drove the rest back too, snarling, biting, forcing them into darkness. Charlie watched from behind his truck door, shaking, eyes wide. He saw too much. He saw Edward move like lightning. He saw Carlyle's calm in the middle of a nightmare. He saw giant wolves. He saw the man in the suit stop a monster with a single word. Charlie's world did not break in one loud snap. It cracked slowly, piece by piece, as truth seeped in. When the last newborn vanished into the forest, Forks was left with broken fences, shattered porch wood, and terrified people who would call it anything except what it really was. Animal attack, gas leak, drugs, a bear. Charlie knew those words were lies. He also knew he might never get a real answer. Mr. Morningstar walked past Charlie, stopping close enough that Charlie could smell something clean and strange, like fresh air in a room that should have been stale. Charlie's voice was hoarse. What are you? Mr. Morningstar's eyes were calm. Tired. Charlie's face tightened. That's not... Mr. Morningstar interrupted gently. It's the closest honest answer you'll get right now. Charlie swallowed hard. My daughter. Mr. Morningstar's gaze sharpened a fraction. Your daughter is alive. Charlie's voice broke slightly. Because of you? Mr. Morningstar's smile was faint. Partly. Charlie stared at him, furious and grateful at the same time. Mr. Morningstar looked past Charlie toward the forest. It's not finished, he said quietly. Charlie's hands clenched. What isn't? Mr. Morningstar didn't answer. He just walked away into the rain. And for the first time, Charlie noticed something that made his skin prickle all over. The rain still did not touch him. Later, after the town had been calmed with half-truths and fast cleanup, the Cullens regrouped at home. The house felt smaller now, like the secret had gotten too big for its walls. Alice sat on the floor, back against the couch, staring at nothing. Edward stood by the window, jaw clenched, listening to Charlie's heartbeat from miles away, as if that could keep Charlie safe. Carlyle's voice was quiet and firm. That was deliberate. Jasper nodded once. They were placed. Emmett's grin was gone. He looked unsettled. Newborns don't move like that. Rosalie's voice was sharp. So who made them? Everyone's eyes shifted toward Lucifer. Lucifer leaned against the piano again, looking irritated, like someone had spilled a drink on a clean floor. It wasn't the Volturi, he said. Edward's eyes narrowed. How do you know? Lucifer's smile was thin. Because Arrow is subtle. That was messy. Carlyle frowned. Then the Threadkeeper. Lucifer nodded once. Alice's voice was small. It pushed them, so humans would see. Lucifer's gaze turned to her. Yes. Edward's voice rose. Why? Lucifer's eyes gleamed, cold and bright. Because it wants me to either take control or leave. Bella swallowed, feeling the weight of those words. Carlyle looked at Lucifer steadily. And what will you do? Lucifer's smile turned sharp. I will do what I always do when something tries to cage me, he said softly. He looked toward the dark forest beyond the glass. I will pull on the chain until I see who is holding it. That night, Bella lay awake in her bed, staring at the ceiling. She could still hear screams in her head, still see Charlie's face when he saw the impossible. Edward sat in the chair across the room, still as stone, eyes fixed on her like he could guard her with staring alone. Bella whispered. Charlie saw. Edward's jaw tightened. Yes. Bella's throat tightened. He's going to ask me. Edward's voice was low. I know. Bella stared at Edward. Are you going to keep lying? Edward flinched like she had slapped him. Bella's voice shook. Because I don't know how much longer I can do it. It hurts him. Edward's eyes closed for a brief moment. Then he opened them, pain clear on his face. I don't know what the right choice is, Edward admitted. Bella swallowed. That was the truest thing he had said in a long time. Outside, the rain kept falling, and somewhere unseen. The Threadkeeper tightened its hold again, preparing another correction, because it had learned something too. Lucifer would not leave, so it would have to make staying cost him something. Something that mattered. Something like trust. Something like a family breaking. And if it was very lucky, something like Bella Swan choosing fear. That was the pivot. The war was no longer only teeth and claws. It was about choices. And someone was trying to steal them. 2 weeks passed, and Forks pretended it was normal again. People replaced broken porch boards. They blamed animals for the scratches on doors. They told each other it was a one-time panic. They lowered their voices when they said it, like they didn't believe it. Charlie Swan did not believe it. He slept less. He drank more coffee. He stared at the tree line longer than a man should. And he watched his daughter the way you watch the last light in a storm. Bella tried to act normal for him. She went to school. She did homework. She answered questions with short sentences. But there was a new tension in her, like she was always listening for something. Edward was always there, even when he wasn't. Charlie didn't say his name out loud anymore. Not because he was polite, because he wasn't sure what Edward was, and he didn't want to start a fight he couldn't finish. La Push was louder than Forks now. The wolves ran patrols in shifts. They stayed close to the treaty line. They watched the Cullens, and watched the town, and watched the woods that had coughed up newborn vampires like the forest itself had gotten sick. Jacob felt the pressure every day. It sat on his skin like wet clothes. It made his temper sharp. Sam tried to keep the pack focused. We hold the line, he said. We don't panic. But Jacob could smell panic anyway. It was in the air. Not just from humans, from the world. At the Cullen house, the family moved like people in a hospital after a disaster. Quiet, fast, always cleaning. Carlyle kept his voice calm, but his mind never stopped. He reviewed every risk, every route, every lie that could hold for one more day. Alice's visions came back in pieces, Not clean futures with smooth paths. Now she saw clusters, branches. Too many options stacked on top of each other. Sometimes she saw nothing at all. Sometimes she saw 5 different endings in one blink. She hated it. And in a small way she didn't want to admit, she also felt something else. Relief. Because the futures didn't feel like rails anymore. They felt like choices. Lucifer Morningstar stayed in the guest house like Carlyle had asked. He didn't need sleep, but he kept a routine anyway, as if routine was a game he played with himself. At night, he sat at the old upright piano and tested the keys like he was judging them. The first week, the piano stayed slightly off. Lucifer seemed personally offended by it. The second week, the piano was perfectly in tune. No one saw him fix it. No one heard tools. It simply changed. Emmett noticed and muttered, "He cheated." Lucifer smiled without looking up. "Of course I did." He played at odd hours. Not loud. Not to show off. Just enough sound to fill the rain-soaked silence with something sharp and controlled. Edward hated that the music was good. Carlyle hated that the music made the house feel calmer. One evening, Carlyle found Lucifer sitting on the porch steps, watching the rain. Carlyle stood under the porch roof. The rain still fell in a clean line that refused to touch Lucifer's coat. "I want to talk," Carlyle said. Lucifer didn't look away from the trees. "You always want to talk." "Yes," Carlyle said simply. "Because talking prevents death." Lucifer's mouth twitched. "In your experience." Carlyle sat down 2 steps away, keeping space. "The town is unstable," Carlyle said. "Charlie saw too much. The wolves are angry. The Volturi are quiet, which means they're planning." Lucifer glanced at him. "And the Threadkeeper is pushing." Carlyle's jaw tightened. "Yes." Lucifer's eyes gleamed. "You're learning." Carlyle didn't like being teased, but he didn't react. "I need to know what you plan to do," Carlyle said. Lucifer finally looked at him. His expression wasn't cruel. It wasn't warm either. It was clear. "I plan to stop it from tightening this world," Lucifer said. "I plan to loosen it." Carlyle frowned. "How?" Lucifer's smile was thin. "By finding its hand. By making it blink." Carlyle held his gaze. "If you go too far, you could break the world." Lucifer's eyes sharpened slightly. "Yes." Carlyle waited. Lucifer looked back at the rain. "Which is why I won't go too far." Carlyle's calm shifted into something firmer. "That sounds like restraint." Lucifer's smile returned, small. "Don't compliment me. It encourages bad habits." Carlyle said quietly, "Humans are at risk." Lucifer nodded once. "I know." Carlyle hesitated, then said the next truth out loud. "Bella is at risk," Carlyle said. Lucifer's gaze flicked toward the main house. "Yes," Carlyle's voice tightened. "Edward is breaking." Lucifer's eyes gleamed with mild interest. "He's always breaking. He just does it quietly." Carlyle didn't argue. He stood. "If you need help, we will help." Lucifer looked up at him. "You can't help me fight the Threadkeeper." Carlyle's face stayed steady. "Then we will help you protect the people it tries to use." Lucifer watched him for a moment. Then he nodded once, as if he accepted the logic. "Very well," Lucifer said. "Try not to get yourselves killed." Carlyle almost smiled. Almost. That night, Lucifer went to the Forks police station. He walked in like he belonged there. The desk sergeant started to stand, then stopped, uneasy. Like his body couldn't decide if this man was trouble or a normal visitor. Charlie looked up from paperwork and went still. "You," Charlie said, voice flat. Lucifer smiled politely. "Chief." Charlie stood. "I don't have time." Lucifer looked around the station. It smelled like damp coats and stale coffee and stress. "You never have time," Lucifer said. "That's why you keep making the wrong choices." Charlie's eyes narrowed. "Get to the point." Lucifer's gaze locked on Charlie, steady and sharp. "The pressure in your town is going to increase," Lucifer said. "You will be tempted to chase answers." Charlie's jaw tightened. "Tempted?" Lucifer's mouth twitched. "You're already chasing." Charlie snapped. "Because something is hunting in my town." Lucifer didn't flinch. "Yes." Charlie took a breath, trying to control his anger. "If you know something, tell me." Lucifer stepped closer and lowered his voice just enough that the rest of the station noise fell away. "I can't give you the full truth without putting you in more danger," Lucifer said. "But I can give you a choice." Charlie stared. Lucifer continued. "You can keep digging until you force a confrontation you can't survive. Or you can stop digging, protect your daughter with what you can do, and let others handle what you can't." Charlie's hands clenched. "Others? You mean the Cullens?" Lucifer's eyes gleamed. "Among others?" Charlie's voice went hoarse. "I'm not going to sit and do nothing." Lucifer's smile was faint. "You're not nothing. You're an anchor. Your daughter trusts you. That matters." Charlie's throat tightened at that. Then his anger surged back. "You keep talking like you know her." Lucifer's gaze stayed calm. "I know what she is to you." Charlie's eyes narrowed. "Then say it." Lucifer's voice softened, just a little. "You want her safe. You want to understand. You want to feel like a good father." Charlie flinched, like the words had landed too close. He swallowed and forced his voice steady. "Don't do that." Lucifer tilted his head. "Do what?" Charlie's jaw clenched. "Whatever this is. Whatever you did when you asked me that question." Lucifer's smile sharpened. "You resisted." Charlie stared. "What?" Lucifer's eyes flicked briefly, interested. "It's rare." Charlie didn't know what to do with that, so he did what he always did. He pushed back. "If you're so powerful," Charlie said, voice tight, "then fix it. Fix my town." Lucifer's expression went almost tired. "I could," Lucifer said, "if I wanted to rule it." Charlie blinked. "Rule it?" Lucifer's gaze stayed steady. "Control everything. Lock it down. Make it safe by force." Charlie's face tightened. "That sounds like a nightmare." Lucifer smiled, pleased. "Good. Then you understand the problem." Charlie swallowed hard, then asked the question that had been burning in him for days. "Are you the reason this started?" Charlie demanded. Lucifer's eyes didn't lie. "I am the reason it changed." Charlie's mouth tightened. "And Bella?" Lucifer's voice stayed calm. "Bella is the reason it can change without snapping." Charlie stared, dread rising. Lucifer leaned slightly closer. "Chief, listen to me. A force is pushing this place to break. It wants fear. It wants exposure. It wants you to choose badly." Charlie's hands tightened into fists. "Why?" Lucifer's eyes gleamed. "Because fear makes people easy to shape." Charlie's chest tightened. He thought of the red-eyed attackers. He thought of giant wolves. He thought of Edward's speed. He thought of Bella standing in the middle of it. Charlie's voice cracked. "What am I supposed to do?" Lucifer watched him. Then he said, simple and direct. "Choose your daughter," Lucifer said. "Not the mystery." Charlie's eyes burned. "I can't just forget." Lucifer nodded. "You won't." Charlie stared, angry tears threatening even though he hated that. Lucifer's tone stayed even. "But you can remember and still choose the right thing." Charlie's mouth tightened. "And what's the right thing?" Lucifer's smile was thin. "Keep her close. Keep your mouth shut to the wrong ears. And when you feel the urge to run into the forest alone like a hero, don't. Charlie's face hardened. I'm not a hero. Lucifer's eyes flicked to Charlie's badge. You try. Charlie swallowed hard. Lucifer stepped back. I'll handle the other part. Charlie's voice rose. I don't trust you. Lucifer smiled. Good. Then he walked out, leaving Charlie standing in the station with shaking hands and a choice that felt like swallowing glass. 2 nights later, the Volturi contacted Carlyle again, not with a threat, with an invitation. It was delivered the same way, quiet messenger, black wax seal, but the tone inside was different. Aro requested a meeting with Lucifer Morningstar, neutral ground, no guards in the open. A conversation among leaders. Edward read the letter and looked like he wanted to tear it in half. He's trying to put himself on Lucifer's level, Edward said. Carlyle folded the paper neatly. He's trying to make Lucifer accept a role. Jasper's face was hard. Roles are cages? Alice's eyes flickered, seeing too many paths at once. If we go, something happens. Something big. I can't see which ending wins. Rosalie's voice was cold. We shouldn't go. We should leave Forks. Right now. Emmett shook his head. And start a war with wolves and Volturi at the same time? Great plan. Edward didn't look at them. He looked at Bella. Bella stood in the doorway, arms folded, watching them all like she was watching a family argue in a burning house. I'm not going, Bella said quietly. Edward spun toward her. Bella. Bella held up a hand. No. This is vampire business. And whatever Lucifer is business. Lucifer was leaning against the piano, listening with a faint smile. Bella's eyes snapped to him. And you, Lucifer raised an eyebrow. Me. Bella's voice tightened. Stop making my life the center of this. Lucifer's smile softened slightly. I'm not making it. Others are. Bella's jaw clenched. Then stop letting them. Lucifer studied her for a moment. Then he nodded once, like he respected the demand. Fine, Lucifer said. I will speak to Aro. Edward's voice went sharp. Alone? Lucifer glanced at him. Do you want to come and glare the entire time? Edward's eyes burned. Yes, Lucifer's mouth twitched. Of course you do. Carlyle stepped in, calm but firm. Edward comes, and I come. Lucifer looked at Carlyle. You're determined. Carlyle held his gaze. Humans live here. Lucifer nodded once. Very well. The meeting place was an abandoned quarry outside town. No streetlights, no houses, just wet rock and darkness. Aro arrived with only 2 visible guards, Jane and Dimitri. Carlyle felt his family stiffen at the sight of Jane. The memory of her power failing still hung in the air like smoke. Aro smiled, like none of it mattered. Carlyle, Aro said warmly. Edward, how lovely. His gaze slid to Lucifer. Aro's smile sharpened with real hunger now, not for blood, but for certainty. Lucifer Morningstar, Aro said, tasting the name. Lucifer looked around the quarry as if judging the decor. Hello, Lucifer said politely. Aro spread his hands. Thank you for coming. Lucifer's eyes gleamed. I came to see what you want. Aro's smile widened. Direct. I appreciate that. Edward's voice was cold. Say it. Aro chuckled softly. Very well. Aro stepped closer, careful, respectful in the way a man respects a cliff edge. This world is hidden, Aro said. It survives because we keep it hidden. That requires order, rules, discipline. Lucifer looked bored already. Aro continued anyway. You are extraordinary. You disrupt the balance, but you can also stabilize it. Lucifer's smile was thin. You want me to work for you? Aro lifted a hand. Not for me. With us. Edward scoffed. Aro's eyes flicked to him, then back to Lucifer. Join us, Aro said simply. Stand above this world's monsters and keep them in line. Keep humans safe. Keep secrecy intact. Lucifer tilted his head. And in return? Aro's smile turned smooth. Freedom. Resources. Influence. A seat at the center of this world. Lucifer laughed once, quiet. Aro's smile tightened. You find that amusing? Lucifer's eyes gleamed. I find you predictable. Jane's face twisted with anger. Carlyle's voice was steady. Aro. This is not the way. Aro ignored Carlyle. He was focused on the prize. You don't belong to this world, Aro said softly. But you can own a part of it. Lucifer's smile vanished. The air felt colder. No, Lucifer said. Aro blinked, surprised by how simple the refusal was. Lucifer stepped closer, just one step, not threatening, but definite. I don't want your throne, Lucifer said. I don't want your laws. I don't want to be your solution. Aro's smile returned slowly, but there was steel behind it now. Then you will be the problem. Lucifer's eyes sharpened. Careful. Aro lifted his hand slightly. Calm. I am careful. That is why I'm speaking. Lucifer's gaze held his. Tell me what you truly want. Aro's smile twitched. He resisted, but the question pressed on him anyway, like fingers on a bruise. Aro spoke through his own control, voice soft. I want my world to survive, Aro said. Lucifer's eyes gleamed. And you want to be the one holding it? Aro's smile didn't deny it. Edward's jaw tightened. Carlyle watched, heart heavy, because he could see the shape of the danger. Aro wasn't offering peace. He was offering a leash made of gold. Lucifer leaned in slightly. If you touch forks again, Lucifer said softly, I will remove your ability to do so. Jane stiffened. Dimitri's eyes narrowed. Aro's smile thinned. Is that a threat? Lucifer's voice stayed calm. It's a boundary. Aro studied him for a long moment, then nodded once, as if he accepted that this was the line. Very well, Aro said. Then we will do this the hard way. Lucifer's eyes gleamed. You mean the long way? Aro smiled, pleased. Yes. The long way. As Aro stepped back, the air shifted again. Not because of the Volturi, because something else noticed the meeting. The rain seemed to pause for half a second, like the world was listening. Alice, waiting miles away at home, saw a flash of the quarry in her mind. Then a new image slammed in. Bella in the woods, Charlie running, a red-eyed newborn reaching, and a black thread tightening like a knot. Alice gasped and grabbed the table. Now. At the quarry, Lucifer's head tilted slightly. He felt it too. Here it comes, Lucifer said, almost cheerful. Edward's eyes narrowed. What? Lucifer smiled thinly. The correction. And then forks made a noise it hadn't made in a while. A clean, sharp crack in the sky. Not a thunder crack. A wrong crack. Charlie heard it from his porch as he locked up for the night. He froze, keys in his hand. Bella, inside, looked up from the couch. Edward, already outside in the dark, snapped his head toward the woods. The trees trembled as if something had moved through them too fast. Then Charlie's phone rang. He answered on instinct. Swan, Billy Black's voice came through, tight. Charlie, don't go outside. Charlie's heart pounded. What? Billy spoke fast now. Something's in the forest. The kids are shifting. Sam says stay inside. Charlie's grip tightened on the phone. Billy. The line cut. Charlie stared at the screen. Then he heard it. A human scream, far off near the road. Charlie's body moved before his brain could catch up. He grabbed his coat and stepped toward the door. Bella stood up fast. Dad! Charlie froze, torn in half, he remembered Lucifer's words. Choose your daughter, not the mystery. His jaw clenched. He closed the door again. Bella stared at him, shocked. Dad? Charlie swallowed hard. His voice shook. Stay inside. Bella's throat tightened. Someone's screaming. Charlie's eyes burned with anger and fear. I know. He forced himself to step away from the door. Bella realized what it was costing him. She saw it in his face. And for the first time, Bella felt the full weight of the choice he was making. Not because he was weak, because he was strong enough to stop chasing. Outside, the scream cut off. Edward moved like lightning into the trees. Wolves followed, huge shadows tearing through the rain. Carlisle's family moved too, spreading out to keep the fight away from houses. And then Lucifer arrived, stepping onto the wet road near Charlie's house, like he had walked out of the rain itself. Bella saw him through the window. He looked up at the house. His gaze met Bella's. He didn't smile this time. He lifted one hand in a small, clear gesture. Wait. Bella's breath hitched. Edward's voice came in a blur at the window, urgent. Bella, stay. Bella cut him off. I know. Edward's eyes flicked to Charlie. Charlie stood rigid, fists clenched, not moving toward the door. Edward stared, surprised. Then he understood. Charlie had chosen. It didn't solve everything, but it broke one piece of the Threadkeeper's plan. In the forest, the newborns moved like they had before, coordinated, guided, placed at the edges of human sight. The Threadkeeper was trying again, not just to kill, to expose. Jacob slammed into the first newborn near the road, driving it back with brute force, teeth and claws and pure rage. Jasper pinned another in a ditch, holding it down, controlling the fear around it so it wouldn't sprint toward the nearest house. Emmett took one out of the air, cracked its spine against a tree, and dragged it deeper into the woods where no human would hear the fight. But this wave was larger, and it had a new trick. A newborn sprinted toward the Swan house on purpose. Bella saw it through the window, a pale blur cutting across the yard. Charlie saw it too. His face went white. Bella's heart slammed. Edward was too far. Jacob was too far. The newborn hit the porch steps and lunged toward the door. Then it stopped. It froze mid-lunge like it had hit invisible chains. Its red eyes widened with panic. Lucifer stood at the edge of the yard, one hand lifted, calm as ever. He didn't look angry. He looked insulted. No, Lucifer said softly. The newborn trembled, trapped, unable to move. Charlie stared through the window, mind breaking again. Bella whispered, "Oh my God." Lucifer lowered his hand, but the newborn stayed locked. He looked up at the house again. Bella's throat tightened as if he was staring into her mind, even though she knew he couldn't. He didn't speak into her head. He spoke out loud, quiet, but clear, as if he wanted her to hear him through the glass. "Bella Swan," Lucifer said. Bella's skin prickled. Edward's head snapped toward the yard, eyes wide. Charlie's breath caught. Bella didn't move. Lucifer's voice stayed calm. "I need your permission." Bella swallowed hard. Edward's voice went sharp. "No." Lucifer didn't look at Edward. "You don't decide." Edward's jaw clenched. "She's human." Lucifer's eyes flicked toward Edward, cold and bright. "So are the people your enemies keep trying to kill." Bella's heart pounded. She pressed her hand to the glass, staring at Lucifer. "What permission?" she whispered, even though he couldn't hear through the window. Lucifer heard anyway. Not through magic, through the simple fact that his attention was complete. "To anchor a space," Lucifer said. "A place where the Threadkeeper can't tighten the world so easily." Bella's throat tightened. "Will it hurt?" Lucifer's expression softened slightly. "No. It will feel strange, like standing in a strong wind. Edward's face was tight with fear. "Bella, don't!" Bella looked at Charlie. Charlie's eyes were wide, terrified, but he wasn't running. He wasn't chasing. He was staying with her. Bella looked back at Lucifer. The newborn on the porch trembled, still trapped, a proof of what was at stake. Bella took a shaky breath, then she nodded once. Through the glass, she mouthed the word. "Yes." Lucifer's eyes gleamed, almost pleased. "Thank you," he said softly. He lifted his hand again, but this time his gesture was different. Not a command, a release. The air around the Swan house shifted. Bella felt it instantly. A pressure spread outward, like a clear, invisible boundary pushing back against the forest. Her skin prickled. Her ears popped slightly again. The lights in the house flickered, then steadied. Charlie stumbled back, grabbing the counter like he was dizzy. Bella's knees went weak for a second, but she stayed standing. Edward stared, stunned. Outside, the newborn on the porch suddenly looked confused. Its eyes darted left and right, like it had lost a signal. Then Jacob crashed out of the trees and slammed into it, dragging it off the steps and into the yard with a snarl. Edward was gone in a blur to help Jacob, but now the newborns were different. They were still dangerous, still fast, still hungry, but they weren't coordinated anymore. They began to move like newborns should. Wild, messy, driven by hunger and panic. Jasper felt it and hissed. "The push is weakening." Carlisle's voice came through the trees, controlled. "Keep them away from houses." The wolves surged, driving the newborns back into the deeper forest. The Cullens moved in practiced pairs, breaking limbs, pinning, dragging, controlling the battlefield. Lucifer didn't chase. He stood in the yard and kept his hand lifted, holding the boundary steady, eyes angled toward the dark woods, like he was watching something behind the fight. Bella felt the pressure around her mind like wind. Just as he'd said, it didn't invade her. It wrapped around her like a wall she had agreed to stand inside. She realized, with a cold clarity, what the Threadkeeper had been doing. It had been shaping the world without asking. Lucifer had asked. That mattered. In the forest, the air shifted again, not from newborns, from the Threadkeeper noticing the boundary. A presence pressed against the edge of Lucifer's space, testing it. Bella's breath caught. Even from inside the house, she felt it like a cold finger on the back of her neck. Lucifer spoke without turning his head. "I'm here," he said softly. The presence tightened, and then, for a split second, Bella saw something she knew she shouldn't be able to see. A faint shape between trees. Not a body. Not a face. A tall, thin outline made of shadow and pale light, watching. The Threadkeeper. Edward saw it too, his face twisted with anger. Jacob, still half wolf in his mind, snarled. Carlisle's posture tightened. Lucifer's voice stayed calm. "You used people," Lucifer said. "You staged slaughter to force control." The Threadkeeper's voice came without a mouth, clear in the air. "You destabilize," it said. "You create suffering." Lucifer's eyes gleamed. "I create options." The Threadkeeper pressed against the boundary again. Bella felt it as a stronger wind now, pushing at the edges of her mind. She gritted her teeth and stayed standing. Lucifer didn't force her to hold it. He asked quietly, "Can you keep it?" Bella swallowed hard. Then she nodded once, eyes burning. Lucifer's expression turned almost respectful. "Good," he said. He lifted his other hand and made a small motion, like pulling a thread loose from a knot. Far away, deep under the forest, the carved spine lines they had found in the cave flickered. Alice, in the Cullen house, gasped and grabbed her head. Not from pain, from vision. For the first time in weeks, she saw Forks clearly. Not a single future. A flood of possible ones. All real, all open. She laughed once, shaky. "It's open," Alice whispered. "It's open." In the woods, the Threadkeeper's presence faltered. Not defeated, but surprised. The boundary around the Swan House wasn't just protection. It was a statement. This part of the world would not be tightened without consent. The Threadkeeper pulled back slightly, like a hand touching a hot surface. Lucifer's voice stayed gentle, but it carried a threat that wasn't about violence. "You can keep your world from collapsing," Lucifer said. "But you don't get to own it." The Threadkeeper's voice turned colder. "You cannot maintain this forever," it said. Lucifer smiled faintly. "I don't need forever." The Threadkeeper tested the boundary one last time. Bella's breath caught. Charlie staggered, dizzy, eyes wide. Edward's face went tight with fear as he sensed Bella's strain. Lucifer's gaze flicked toward Bella. "Stop," Lucifer said quietly. Not to Bella, to the Threadkeeper. The pressure cut sharply. Bella sagged against the wall, breathing hard. The Threadkeeper's presence retreated into the trees, thinning like smoke. Not destroyed, not gone, but forced to reconsider. The newborn vampires, now unguided and panicked, tried to flee. Wolves and Cullens drove them into the deep forest, where no human eyes would follow. Hours later, Forks was quiet again. The Swan House lights were steady. The yard was torn up, but there were no bodies on the porch, no screaming neighbors outside, no clear proof for the town to hold. Charlie sat at his kitchen table, pale and shaking, hands wrapped around a mug he wasn't drinking. Bella sat across from him, exhausted, eyes red. Edward stood in the corner like a statue, eyes fixed on Charlie, waiting for anger. Charlie looked up at Bella and spoke carefully, like each word might break the fragile peace. "You're in danger," Charlie said. Bella nodded, throat tight. "Yes." Charlie's jaw clenched. "And you're not telling me why." Bella swallowed hard. "I can't." Charlie's hands tightened around the mug, his face twisted in pain. Then he did something Bella didn't expect. He looked away, toward the dark window, and took a slow breath. Lucifer's words echoed in his head. "Choose your daughter, not the mystery." Charlie looked back at Bella. His voice was rough. "I don't like this." Bella's eyes filled. "I know." Charlie nodded once, stiff. "I'm not asking again tonight." Edward's eyes widened slightly. Bella stared. "Dad," Charlie held up a hand. "I'm not saying I'm fine. I'm saying, you're here. You're alive. That's what I can handle right now." Bella's chest tightened. She reached across the table and gripped his hand. Charlie squeezed back, hard. Edward looked away, something tight in his face. Outside, in the rain, Lucifer stood at the edge of the yard for a moment, watching the house. Carlyle approached him slowly, careful not to startle him like a wild animal. "You asked her," Carlyle said quietly. Lucifer glanced at him. "Yes." Carlyle's voice was steady. "Thank you." Lucifer's mouth twitched. "Don't make it sentimental." Carlyle almost smiled. "You created a space." Lucifer looked toward the forest, a space where choices breathe. Carlyle's eyes narrowed slightly. "And the Threadkeeper?" Lucifer's gaze turned cold. "It will adapt." Carlyle's throat tightened. "Will it try again?" Lucifer's smile was thin. "Yes." Carlyle waited. Lucifer looked back at Carlyle. "But it learned something tonight." Carlyle asked, "What?" Lucifer's eyes gleamed. "That it can't tighten everything anymore." The next day, a final letter arrived from Volterra. Short, polite, dangerous. Aro acknowledged the disturbance in Forks. He expressed disappointment that Lucifer refused partnership. He promised patience. Carlyle read the letter and felt the old fear rise. Then he looked at Alice, who was staring into space with a strange expression. "What do you see?" Carlyle asked gently. Alice blinked and smiled, shaky but real. "Too much," Alice said. "I see possibilities again." Edward frowned. "Is that good?" Alice nodded. "It's terrifying, but it's real." Carlyle turned to Lucifer. "So this is the new world." Lucifer leaned against the piano, fingers resting on the keys without playing. "Yes," Lucifer said. "A world that isn't locked." Edward's voice was tight. "And you're staying?" Lucifer's eyes slid to Edward. "Do you want me to leave?" Edward didn't answer, because the truth was complicated. Lucifer smiled faintly. "Exactly." He stood, adjusted his cuffs like a man preparing for a normal day, and spoke as if laying down a simple rule. "I won't rule your world," Lucifer said. "I won't hide it for you. I won't be your weapon." He looked toward the window, toward Forks, toward the wet streets and fragile humans. "But I will not allow something to steal choice here," Lucifer said. Carlyle nodded slowly, understanding the shape of the promise. "And if the Volturi come?" Carlyle asked. Lucifer's smile turned sharp. "Then they'll discover their laws don't apply to me." Edward's jaw clenched. "That will start a war." Lucifer glanced at him. "No, Edward. It will start a negotiation." The rain was softer the night the piano finally sounded perfect. Lucifer sat alone in the guest house, fingers moving over the keys with quiet control. The tune was simple, clean. Not sad, not happy. Just steady. Outside, Forks slept. Not peacefully, not fully. But it slept. In the main house, Alice lay on the couch with her eyes closed, letting visions come and go without grabbing them too hard. She had stopped trying to force certainty. She still hated it, but she had begun to trust it. Edward stood at Bella's window as usual, but his posture had changed. He wasn't only guarding anymore. He was listening to Bella breathe and trying to accept that he couldn't control every outcome without breaking her. Bella slept, exhausted from a fear she didn't fully understand. Charlie slept too, for the first time in days, because he had made a choice and didn't keep reliving the moment he nearly ran outside. In the forest, the wolves patrolled in a tight circle around town, watchful and angry, but not blind. Jacob paused on a ridge and looked down at the lights of Forks. He didn't like Lucifer. He didn't trust him. But Jacob couldn't deny one thing. The newborns had changed the second that space formed. It had saved people. Jacob growled under his breath, then kept running, because even grudges had to wait when lives were on the line. Far away, in Volterra, Aro sat in his stone chamber and read reports. No clear evidence left behind. No simple weakness to exploit. No clean way to force Forks back into a tidy, controllable knot. Aro smiled anyway. Patience was his favorite weapon. "Interesting," Aro murmured. "He refuses thrones." Jane stood in the corner, silent, her pride still bruised. Aro's eyes gleamed. "Then we will offer something else." In a place that wasn't quite a room and wasn't quite a time, the Threadkeeper stretched its awareness across the world again. It felt the loosened knot around Forks. It felt the open space like a missing tooth. It did not feel pain like a human, but it felt loss, and it felt risk. It pulled back, recalculated, and began to weave around the new problem rather than through it, because it could not tighten that space without permission now. And permission was the thing it hated most. Back in Forks, Lucifer finished the last note and let it fade naturally. He didn't need to breathe, but he sat still, as if listening to the silence after music. He looked toward the rain-dark window, expression calm and thoughtful. This world was small. Its monsters were limited. Its dangers were local. And yet its people fought like their choices mattered. Maybe that was why the Threadkeeper had built it into a knot, because knots were easier to hold. Lucifer stood, smoothed his coat, and walked out into the rain. Drops fell around him. They still did not touch him. He stopped at the edge of the trees and looked into the forest, as if he could see the carved spine deep underground. Then he spoke softly, not to anyone visible, but to the world itself. "Keep choosing," he said. And in Forks, life continued. Not safer, not simpler, just freer than it had been before.